Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to SettingMoon.com. This is our Shabbat service, and I'm Joe Dumond, and this is our brethren. I didn't know what to call you for a second. Welcome, welcome. And I tell you, I needed today. I needed this rest. I went to bed early last night. I slept late. And even when I got out of bed late, I just wanted to roll over and go back to bed. I know it's not that type of rest, but it was. I've been having a very busy past month, and it's catching up to me. But I'm also watching the news. So I want to talk about the news a little bit. We're going to do the Torah portion today, but before we do that, I want to talk about the news a little bit. And Jenny, I've asked Jenny if she would read for me.
Can we pray first, brother?
Yes, we can.
All right, all right.
Sorry, thank you.
No worries. Brother Dean. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Levino of El Mekano, our Father, our King, hallowed be your glorious name, set apart, set apart, set apart are you, Father. Thank you for your Sabbath. Thank you for this assembly. It's remote, we're on Zoom, but we are so grateful. The world does not understand your Sabbath, Father. The world thinks it would be a curse, a cruel thing to keep them cooped up for 24 hours. Yet every week we look forward to your Sabbath, Father, because we know the gifts that you give us and the truth that you share with us, Father. Continue to do so, Father, and bless all those that speak today and open up their minds and their hearts. Bless everyone that is here, Father. In the name of Jehovah, our only Savior. Amen.
Amen. You know, I do this almost every week. Forget about we've just been doing a prayers for about a half hour, and okay, well, we're just carrying on, and I forgot. Okay, that people here that are watching on the video don't get that part. So my apologies, and I thank you, Randy, for keeping me on track and keeping me in line. If we can go, Jenny, and we're going to start reading. I think I asked Jenny to do Deuteronomy 28.
Do you want the whole chapter?
I want to start in verse 15, I think.
Oh, darn. You don't want to start with verse 1?
Hang on. No, those are the blessings.
I know.
I don't want to read the blessings.
Okay, verse 15 then.
Why? I'm not criticizing you, but I'm going to criticize it. Why should we read the blessings when we don't deserve them? I want to read the curses and just see if you recognize anything. Because we're not going to recognize the blessings because we're not getting them. Okay? Okay, so.
Verse 15. And it shall be, if you do not obey the voice of Yahovah your Elohim, to guard, to do all his commands and his laws, which I command you today, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you.
You're going to read right to the end, right?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Cursed are you in the city, and cursed are you in the field. Cursed is your basket and your kneading bowl. Cursed is the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land, the increase of your cattle and the offspring of your flocks. Cursed are you when you come in, and cursed are you when you go out. Yahovah sends on you the curse, the confusion, and the rebuke in all that you set your hand to do, until you are destroyed and until you perish quickly, because of the evil of your doings by which you have forsaken me. Yahovah makes the plague cling to you until he has consumed you from the land which you are going to possess.
So, and just, do we have a plague going on right now? I don't know. Maybe this doesn't apply here. Is it clinging to us? Do we have variants? Today's news, just 12 o'clock news today. No, it actually wasn't 12 o'clock news. It was a news report I got online. The Sino vaccine from China that they given to Mongolia and Indonesia and Dubai and other places is not working. All those people that thought they were vaccinated are now dying.
Wow.
I don't know, maybe this, God's a liar here. This is only make-believe stuff. Okay, I'm gonna interrupt Jenny a few more times here, but
No problem.
go ahead.
Yahovah strikes you with wasting disease and with inflammation and with burning and with extreme heat and with the sword and with blight.
Hang on. Extreme heat, inflammation. Anything going on there? Like, does that sound like the daily news? Oh, the sword part is not here yet. Okay, that's the part I've been calling for the longest time, but it's not here yet. Okay, Jenny.
And with blight and with mildew, and they shall pursue you until you perish. And your heavens which are over your head shall become bronze, and the earth which is under you iron. Yahovah makes the rain of your land powder and dust. From the heavens it comes down on you until you are destroyed.
How long is this for? How long is this drought out west for? How long is this drought? Today's news. California has shut down the hydro because the water in the dam is so low, it's down to 35% level. And now they got no electricity. Where do we get all the newest, craziest fads coming from? California. All the new stuff, all the new crazy wacko stuff comes out of California. I started there first, right? Most of it. Now they're shutting down. It's coming. Okay, I got this burr in my bonnet and nobody's listening. And we've been saying it since 2005. Nobody's listening. Still. And yet it's here. Carry on, Jenny.
Yahovah causes you to be defeated before your enemies. You go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. And you shall become a horror to all the reigns of the earth. Your carcasses shall be food for all the birds of the heavens and the beasts of the earth, with no one to frighten them away. Yahovah shall strike you with the boils of Mitzrayim, with tumors and with the scab and with the itch, from which you are unable to be healed. Yahovah shall strike you with madness and blindness and bewilderment of heart. And you shall be groping at noon as a blind man gropes in darkness and not prosper in your ways. And you shall be only oppressed and plundered all the days, with no one to save you. You become engaged to a wife, but another man does lie with her. You build a house, but do not dwell in it. You plant a vineyard, but do not use its fruit. Your ox is slaughtered before your eyes, but you do not eat of it. Your donkey is violently taken from before you, and it is not given back to you. Your sheep are given to your enemies with no one to save them. Your sons and your daughters are given to another people, and your eyes look and fail for them all day long, and your hand is powerless. A people whom you have not known eat the fruit of your land and all your labors, and you shall be only oppressed and crushed all the days. And you shall be maddened because of the sight which your eyes see. Yahovah strikes you in the knees and on the leg with evil boils of which you are unable to be healed, and from the sole of your foot to the top of your head. Yahovah brings you and the sovereign whom you set over you to a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there you shall serve other mighty ones, wood and stone. Thus you shall become an astonishment, a proverb and a mockery among all the peoples to which Yahovah drives you. You take much seed out into the field, but gather little in, for the locust consumes it. You plant vineyards and shall labor, but you neither drink of the wine nor gather, for the worm eats it. You have olive trees in all your border, but do not anoint with oil, for your olives drop off. You bring forth sons and daughters, but they are not with you, for they go into captivity. Locusts possess all your trees and the fruit of your ground. The sojourner who is among you rises higher and higher above you, but you come down lower and lower. He lends to you, but you do not lend to him. He is the head, and you are the tail.
And just on that note, do you realize that they are right now at $28 trillion in debt, and they are looking to create another 3.1 trillion through another, I don't know, job motivational bill? I'm talking about the United States. Who's going to pay for this debt? That'd be 31 trillion. I don't even know how many zeros that is. 6 zeros is a million, so 9 zeros is a billion. 12 zeros is a trillion. Is that it? I lose count. That's just debt. So you're past 35, close to 45% of your GDP going to just service the debt, which means that you are going broke faster than you are profiting. That's where we are today, this week. Carry on, Jenny. I'm full of good news today, folks.
And all these curses shall come upon you, and they shall pursue and overtake you until you are destroyed, because you did not obey the voice of Jehovah, your Elohim, to guard his commands and his laws, which he commanded you. And they shall be upon you for a sign and for a wonder, and on your seed forever. Because you did not serve Jehovah, your Elohim, with joy and gladness of heart for all the plenty. You shall serve your enemies whom Jehovah sends against you in hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness and in need of all. And he shall put a yoke of iron on your neck until he has destroyed you. Jehovah shall bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose language you shall not understand, a fierce-looking nation which shall show no regard for the elderly, nor show favor to the young. And they shall eat the fruit of your livestock and the fruit of your land until you are destroyed. They leave you no grain, nor new wine, nor oil, nor the increase of your cattle, or the offspring of your flocks, until they have destroyed you. And they shall besiege you at all your gates, till your high and fenced walls, in which you are trusting, come down in all your land. And they shall besiege you at all your gates in all your land, which Jehovah your Elohim has given you. And you shall eat the fruit of your own body, the flesh of your sons and your daughters, whom Jehovah your Elohim has given you, in the siege and distress in which your enemies distress you. The man among you who is tender and who is very delicate, his eye is evil against his brother, against the wife of his bosom, and against the rest of his children whom he leaves behind, against giving any of them the flesh of his children that he eats, because it is all that has been left to him in the siege and distress with which your enemy distresses you in all your gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, who has not tried to set the sole of her foot on the ground because of her delicateness and tenderness, her eye is evil against the husband of her bosom, and against her son, and against her daughter, and against her seed which comes out from between her feet and her children whom she bears. For she eats them in secret for lack of all, in the siege and distress with which your enemies distresses you in all your gates. If you do not guard to do all the words of this Torah that are written in this book, to fear this esteemed and awesome name, Jehovah your Elohim, then Jehovah shall bring upon you and your descendants extraordinary plagues, great and lasting plagues, in grievous and lasting sicknesses. And he shall bring back on you all the diseases of Mitzrayim, of which you were afraid, and they shall cling to you. Also every sickness and every plague, which is not written in the book of this Torah, Jehovah does bring upon you until you are destroyed. And you shall be left with few men, although you had become as numerous as the stars of the heavens, because you did not obey the voice of Jehovah your Elohim. And it shall be that as Jehovah rejoiced over you to do you good and increase you, so Jehovah does rejoice over you to destroy you and lay you waste. And you shall be plucked from off the land which you go to possess.
Jenny, could you read that verse one more time?
And it shall be that as Jehovah rejoiced over you to do you good and increase you, so Jehovah does rejoice over you to destroy you and lay you waste. And you shall be plucked from off the land which you go to possess. And Jehovah shall scatter you among all peoples, from one end of the earth to the other, and there you shall serve other mighty ones, which neither you nor your fathers have known, wood and stone. And among those nations you are to find no rest, nor have a resting place for the sole of your foot. But there Jehovah shall give you a trembling heart and failing eyes and sorrow of being. And your life shall be hanging in suspense before you, and you shall fear night and day and not be certain of your life. In the morning you say, oh, that it were evening. And at evening you say, oh, that it were morning, because of the fear of your heart with which you fear, and because of the sight which your eyes see. And Jehovah shall bring you back to Mitzrayim in ships, by a way of which I said to you, you are never to see it again. And there you shall be sold to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one to buy.
Thank you, Jenny. Is there a lot of that stuff happening in the world right now? Or do we want to read the blessings and count all the blessings that we're getting? Because we're not getting the blessings. Okay, that's why I don't bother reading them anymore. We're not getting them. So I asked Randy beforehand, and let me see, can I do this? Yeah. How many cities have we lost to the wildfires? How many cities? How come this isn't working? There we go. So I just went online here and I started counting. Now, Fort McMurray was one in Canada. That was the last, the last Shmitah year. But there was one before that in Kelowna, BC. And the one in Kelowna I was at, Kelowna happened in August. I went there in September for the feast. And we went and toured all the houses there. It was pretty amazing. Certain houses got skipped and everything around them got burnt. And the reason I remember this is because that was my aha moment in 2003 when I started to be awakened and called to these truths. So I'm writing about this in my newest book, and so this was on my mind. 27,000 people had to flee Kelowna, and 239 homes were burnt up. Okay, well, after that, they got rains and everything went back to normal. There was a Gatlinburg fire that year, 2017, Northern California, the Santa Rosa, California, you know, these are all fires that are going on, and this is just normal fire season. Then there's a campfire in 2018. Paradise, remember Paradise? Remember the videos coming out of Paradise, California? people fleeing for their lives through fires raging across the road. Do you remember at that same time, I believe that's at that same time that in Greece, they all had to flee a fire and they all ran into a dead end street, or the first car crashed or something like that. And everybody got burnt in their cars, burnt alive. Right? Here we are in 2020, right? There's more fires in Oregon, Talent and Phoenix, Beach Creek Fire, Detroit and Gates. Those are small towns, not the city of Detroit. 2021 in Lytton Creek Fire in British Columbia. We lost the entire town. We just lost Monty Lake. I used to play a whole bunch of people out there in volleyball. They have very good volleyball teams out there. That's just outside Kelowna. And we just lost Greensville in California this week. The towns are gone. And you look at them and you wouldn't know that they were a town. They're gone. They're just gone. Now, I haven't heard of any deaths so far in any of these, but there could be. And it's not that I'm counting deaths, but there could be. Now, with that in mind, and with what we've just read in Deuteronomy, now we're going to go to another really great verse that I know people love to read. It's Ezekiel 20. And who is our next reader?
Did you want 20 or 14 first?
Did I say 14? I don't know if I want 14. Do I want 14? Yeah, we can read 14. Yeah, we'll go 14, starting verse 12.
Okay, that's me, Sandra,
Okay, go ahead.
starting in verse 12. Hold on, that's in the middle of a segment. I don't have a verse 12. What are you talking about?
Ezekiel 14, verse 12.
Oh, sorry, I went the wrong way in my Bible because I'm looking at a Hebrew Bible. Okay. The word of Jehovah came to me. O mortal, if a land were to sin against me and commit a trespass, and I stretched out my hand against it and broke its staff of bread and sent famine against it and cut off man and beast from it, and even if these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, should be in it, they would, by their righteousness, save only themselves, declares Jehovah Elohim. Or, if I were to send wild beasts to roam the land and they depopulated it and became a desolation with none passing through it because of the beasts, as I live, declares Jehovah Elohim, those three men in it would save neither sons nor daughters. They alone would be saved, but the land would become a desolation. Or if I were to bring the sword upon that land and say, let a sword sweep through the land so that I may cut off from it man and beast, if those three men should be in it, as I live, declares Jehovah Elohim, they would save neither sons nor daughters, but they alone would be saved. Or if I let loose a pestilence against the land and poured out my fury upon it in blood, cutting off from it man and beast, should Noah, Daniel, and Job be in it, as I live, declares Jehovah Elohim, they would save neither son nor daughter. They would save themselves alone by their righteousness. Assuredly, thus says Jehovah Elohim, how much less should any escape now that I have let loose against Jerusalem all four of my terrible punishments, the sword, famine, wild beasts, and pestilence, to cut off man and beast from it. Yet there are survivors left of it, sons and daughters who are being brought out. They are coming out to you. And when you see their ways and their deeds, you will be consoled for the disaster that I brought on Jerusalem, for all that I brought on it. You will be consoled through them. When you see their ways and their deeds and realize that not without cause did I do all that I did in it, declares Yehovah Elohim.
Thank you, Sombra. Verse 22, yet behold, there shall be left a remnant who will be brought out, both sons and daughters. Surely they will come out to you, and you will see their ways and their doings. Then you will be comforted concerning disasters that I have brought upon Jerusalem. All that I have brought upon it. Now, what do we have Jenny read twice? Who's sending these curses? Jehovah. I want to make sure that you know who's sending these curses. This is not climate change. Okay, we want to blame climate change for it. We want to pay a carbon tax. We want to do all this silly nonsense, except for the one thing that's going to fix it. So because we still won't do that, we're now going to read Ezekiel 20. And who's doing that?
We have Kurt.
Kurt.
But it's the devil that's doing all this.
The devil didn't make me
I
do
mean,
it.
That's what the church says. It's the devil.
The devil didn't make me do it. I did it.
It's his world.
I chose not to obey.
But he's ruler of this world.
He is, but I made a choice. You all get to make a choice.
He's using the adversary as his rod. He says it over and over.
Yeah. I know what you're doing, Randy. I get it. Okay, Kurt, start in verse,
Okay.
I think I want to start in verse 11,
Verse 11,
Yeah.
all right.
and you can read to the end, please.
Ezekiel 20, verse 11. And I gave them my statutes and showed them my judgments, which if a man does, he shall live by them. Moreover, gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between them and me, that they might know that I am Jehovah who sanctifies them. Yet the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They did not walk in my statutes. They despised my judgments, which if a man does, he shall live by them. And they greatly defiled my Sabbaths. Then I said I would pour out my fury upon them in the wilderness to consume them. But I acted for my name's sake, that it should not be profaned. His name should not be profaned before the Gentiles, in whose sight I had brought them out. So I also raised my hand in an oath to them in the wilderness, that I would not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, the glory of all lands, because they despised my judgments and did not walk in my statutes, but profaned my Sabbaths, for their heart went after their idols. Nevertheless, my eye spared them from destruction. I did not make an end of them in the wilderness, but I said to their children in the wilderness, do not walk in the statutes of your fathers, nor observe their judgments, nor defile yourselves with their idols. I am Jehovah your God. Walk in my statutes, keep my judgments, and do them. Hallow my Sabbaths, and they shall be a sign between me and you, that you may know that I am Jehovah your God. Notwithstanding, the children rebelled against me. They did not walk in my statutes, and were not careful to observe my judgments, which if a man does, he shall live by them. But they profaned my Sabbaths. Then I said I would pour out my fury on them and fulfill my anger against them in the wilderness. Nevertheless, I withdrew my hand, and I acted for my name's sake, that it should not be profaned in the sight of the Gentiles, in whose sight I had brought them out. I also raised my hand in an oath to those in the wilderness, that I would scatter them among the Gentiles and disperse them throughout the country. because they had not executed my judgments, but had despised my statutes and profaned my Sabbaths, and their eyes were fixed on their fathers' idols. Therefore I also gave them up to statutes that were not good, and to judgments by which they could not live. And I pronounced them unclean because of their ritual gifts, in that they caused all their firstborn to pass through the fire, that I might make them desolate, and that they might know that I am Jehovah. Therefore, Son of Man, speak to the house of Israel, and say to them, Thus says Jehovah God, in this too your fathers have blasphemed me by being unfaithful to me. When I brought them into the land concerning which I had raised my hand in an oath to give them, and they saw all the high hills and all the thick trees, that there they offered their sacrifices and provoked me with their offerings. There they also sent up their sweet aroma and poured out their drink offerings. Then I said to them, What is this high place to which you go? So its name is called Bama to this day. Therefore, say to the house of Israel, Thus says Jehovah God, are you defiling yourselves in the manner of your fathers and committing harlotry according to their abominations? When you offer your gift and your sons pass through the fire, you defile yourselves with all your idols, even to this day. So shall I be inquired of by you, O house of Israel, as I live, says Jehovah. I will not inquire of by you. What you have in your mind shall never be when you say, we will be like the Gentiles, like the families in other countries, serving wood and stone. As I live, says Jehovah God, surely with a mighty hand, with an outstretched arm, and with fury poured out, I will rule over you. I will bring you out from the peoples.
Did we lose Kirk? Verse 33, as I live, says the Lord God, surely with a mighty hand, with an outstretched arm, and with fury poured out, I will rule over you. I, Jehovah, will bring you out from the peoples and gather you out of the countries where you are scattered, with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the land, or into the wilderness of the peoples, and there I will plead my case with you face to face, just as I pleaded my case with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So I will plead my case with you, says the Lord God. I will make you pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. I will purge the rebels from among you, and those who transgress against me, I will bring them out of the country where they dwell, but they shall not enter the land of Israel. Then you will know that I am the Lord.
But which one is Yom Teruah? Which one's Yom
Okay, so I'll just stop there for now.
Teruah will be.
I want you to think about what's going on here. As I live, says Job, verse 31, surely with a mighty hand, with an outstretched arm, and with my fury poured out, I will rule over you. He's going to rule over you. I will bring you out of the peoples and gather you out of the country where you are scattered, and with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm and fury poured out. Right? You're going to be leaving your homes. Now you can sell them and leave, or we can burn them down and you leave, or we can do something else. But you are going to leave. And I will make you pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. I will purge out the rebels. Somewhere between the time that you leave your house and the time that we go into the promised land, the rebels will die. Okay, I see Kurt's back. So Kurt, you got cut off, so I just carried on without you there. Okay,
Good. My internet is questionable right now.
yeah,
I heard a pop outside and then my internet went down. So I don't know what that's all about, but
that's okay. So we have a lot of things on the news going on right now. And I'm doing my prayers here at noon and I'm weeping. 'Cause we're only just getting started and nobody's getting it. Nobody's getting it. What did we read here? What did Kurt read here? I gave them my Sabbaths, plural, S, plural. We go to Leviticus 23. These are my Sabbaths, plural. What are we talking about? Holy days. When are they? I don't know. It's so confusing, all these calendars. Do I go with a conjunction? Do I go with the Dead Sea Scrolls one or do with the lunar Sabbath one? That's really cool. It's simple, count to 15 or 14. We went through that a couple of weeks ago, how stupid that is. What are you, stupid? Yeah, some people are. Everyone's allowed to be stupid. Okay, you get to make that choice. But this year we have had, Jehovah has given us the barley. Okay, the barley was green ears. It wasn't, fully ripe. We had to roast it. We roasted it and it became ripe. We stood overnight. It became hard. We roasted it. Were we right? Okay, well, when the other group did the green ears, yeah, our barley had already reseeded itself, so they didn't have it any longer. But they had green ears from, the second crop. Okay, so there's a bit of debate. Who's right? I don't know. Then we had the wheat for Shavuot, April 18th. Did we have wheat? Yes, we just had wheat just in time. First fruits, not seconds or thirds, first fruits. Okay, man, I'm feeling good about our choice for the calendar this year. I think we're doing it right. And guess what? 30 days later, they didn't have first fruits. They had leftovers. Not 30, yeah, 30 days later, that would have been the next group. Then there's a group after that that didn't have anything. They were like 60 days later. They had nothing left over. Well, if we're counting from the first group, which is us, then the grapes showed up in the 5th month like they're supposed to. Ooh, we're on the right schedule. We're in sync with God. We're keeping the Sabbath at the right time. Then the figs in the 6th month. And now the pomegranates are just coming to market for the 7th month. Now, everyone else keeping all these dates next month, the Hebrew Hillel calendar or the, we are not the early barley people. We are the right on time barley people. The late barley people, and I'm saying this for our brethren that are listening, the late barley people have been serving God seconds and thirds, leftovers, not first fruits. How do we get out of this pickle that we're in? These forest fires are getting worse every year. Towns are burning down. Before, I started in 2003 there with my chart. Before that, there was a town somewhere around the world going all the way back to 1800s, once every 10, 20 years. Now it's 2 or 3 a year. Is it going to be more? We're not even halfway through the year yet. This is not climate change. The United Nations has got the whole world thinking it is climate change. It is not climate change. This is Jehovah. You read it in Deuteronomy 28. You read it in Ezekiel 14 and 20. Did I say in 20? Jehovah is the one that's sending this. Jehovah. If Randy wants to play devil's advocate, Jehovah is the one being the devil here. Jehovah is sending the curses. Why? Because we will not obey. I say we as in the general, all we. But you guys are trying to obey by keeping the feast at the right time. That's not the only thing we have to do, but that's a good start. That opens up your mind to understanding what he's saying. That opens up your mind for him to bless you with more understanding because you are obeying. I read what other people say, and it's so disheartening. Like I mentioned in the newsletter, I've joined all these rapture groups and Christian groups and Revelation and Daniel prophecy groups, and what have I done? What have I done to myself? I don't even know where to start with them because they're the maturity is just so immature. But I can talk to you guys because you understand. Somber was saying beforehand, I've been saying it for years. I'm finally, someone else is starting to recognize it and said it out loud. Maybe you all knew it before, but just didn't say it. But we just read Ezekiel 14. I gave them my Sabbaths, or Ezekiel 20. I gave them my Sabbaths. But unless, in Ezekiel 14, unless you are as obedient as Job, Daniel, and who's the other guy? Noah. You're not going to be saved by your righteousness. I gave them my Sabbaths, but they wouldn't obey. You're keeping the feast starting in, 3 days' time. So today's date is August 7th. So on August 9th at sunset, if the moon is seen, we'll begin the Feast of Trumpets. If you are keeping that Feast of Trumpets, then you are keeping the Sabbath that Jehovah gave you. And he's going to protect you. We're living in scary times, and then we're living in scary times. I know the time we're living in. I've done the Shabbat and Jubilee of Church. I get it. And today my son's flying out to BC to go do a charity hike through the mountains in BC. What? Are you stupid? Apparently so. We have serious things on our nightly news, and yet the world wants to focus on the Olympics and be all happy and joy, but all these different people that are triumphing over the personal best, which is awesome. I love the Olympics. And at the same time, Greece wildfires are racing down mountains, like they're racing. They say they've never seen them move this fast. 18 kilometers a day or an hour? An hour. I think it was an hour. Boom. 2019, they were doing the same thing in Australia. They were racing across Australia. Nobody talks about those ones anymore. We forget too quick. I wanted to go over this because I don't want you to forget who's sending it and why. Who's sending it and why? Jehovah's sending it because we will not keep his Sabbaths. We will not keep his holy days. We will argue and fight to preserve our wrong understanding instead of going back to the Bible and researching it again, being Berean and double checking. There's nothing wrong with double checking the lunar Sabbath lie. Check it out. Prove to yourself that it's wrong, or prove that it's right. If you can prove that it's right, come and tell me. because you'll be the first one to ever be able to do that. You'll be famous or infamous. The Hillel calendar, maybe it's right. Maybe that's what they were doing from the time of Noah onwards. Go and research it and prove it. And if you can prove that it's not the Hillel calendar, it's actually the Noah calendar, because Hillel just copied Noah, then you'll be the first one to be able to do that. But Hillel started it in 358? 358. Why did he do that? Because of persecution. Why was that? Because of Constantine, who in 321 started to persecute the Jews and changed Passover to a different way of figuring out Passover, because the Jews kept changing it depending on when the barley was Aviv. Oops, forgot to mention that part. Yeah. So can you prove the Hillel calendar to be false? Or can you prove it to be true? Have you done your homework? Do you believe me because I'm good looking? No. Do you believe me because I did all the work for you? You shouldn't. You will be tested on this. You're going to be tested by Jehovah. Is it convenient? Nope. Is it easy? Once you figure it out, it is. Once you figure it out, it is. Once you can prove why all these other calendars, the Enoch calendar, Dead Sea Scroll, the Jubilee, I don't know, whatever other new calendars out there, because they, before 2000, none of them existed. Well, 1991 was the lunar Sabbath lie, but before 1990, none of them existed. It's only modern day messianic messed up people who bring them back to life. But have you proven this stuff? We're going to lose the internet at some point, and the only person who's going to be able to teach it will be you. In wherever camp or group that you find yourself in, you will be the teacher. And can you argue against those who are also in that group who are still trying to keep everyone on the other calendars that they can't prove? That's what you have to do. Because as we just read in chapter 20, I gave them my Sabbaths, but they wouldn't keep them. Therefore, they're going underneath the rod, which is a sword, which is Assyria. And he's going to purge out the rebels. The rebels is witchcraft. Those who will not obey, those who will not keep Torah, those who will not keep the holy days at the proper time because they've been deceived by whatever calendar they followed. Is the calendar issue a big deal? Yes, it's a very big deal. It was the hardest thing I had to figure out. I had to prove it. No man can know the day or the hour. Well, why is that? Because of the crescent moon. And once you can prove that, you prove which moon you use to begin the month. Why do we need barley? Well, because of wave sheaf day. Well, where's wave sheaf day? Well, your wave sheaf is what Yeshua was. It's a New Testament thing. Right? Oh, okay. So, so now I got barley and crescent moon. Okay. Well, now we got proof this year that they line up with the crops, which line up with what the scriptures say when the crops are supposed to be coming in. We've never done that before. I've never thought of doing it before. Becca started doing that this year because somebody else has been pushing her in that direction. He's on a different calendar of his own, trying to prove himself right to keep his following instead of trying to prove Jehovah right and follow him. Again, I've never wanted you to follow me. I'm always telling you to follow Jehovah. So you don't have the excuse. We're following Joe Dumond because, he's right. No, you're following Jehovah because you've proven it and he's right. I'm just another one of those teachers that's going to be gone one day and you're going to have to teach. So, okay, that's my little rant. I'm getting ticked off with all the news reports saying climate change, climate change, climate change, climate change, more taxes to fight climate change. And how do we solve this climate change problem? Turn off the TV. Yeah, I know. No. You solve the climate change problem by obeying God. You know, last week we had a tornado warning coming right at us. And I believe the week before, I was talking with Randy again, twice it happened with Randy. Again, tornadoes were coming right at us, and I turn on my phone to check the weather, see what they're talking about. And there's a solid red mass. So on my phone, if you get the weather map, green is light rain, yellow is heavy rains, solid red or deep purple is tornado or extremely severe heavy rain. They're coming right for us. And I'm looking, and it's right there. It's right on the door. So I go out and look, and it's light rain. I'm checking my phone. It's still there. I'm checking hurricane or tornado warnings for my area. I'm checking, you know, not like I got any place to go hide here. And then I check the phone again, and this heavy tornadic, I don't know how to say the word, tornadic weather splits. And it goes on the other side. So I'm out there looking. I can see one severe weather storm off to the left with lightning and heavy rain. Black is black. And off to the right, black is black. And where I'm at here, light rains, and then the sun comes out. Twice that happened in the last 3 weeks. At our home before, we were in what they call Tornado Alley. In fact, that tornado that just hit Barrie, Ontario here a few weeks ago goes through the area where I live or used to live. But the whole time that I've lived there, the last, I don't know, 30 years, beautiful light rains. Beautiful light rains, not heavy rain. Is that because, why? Is that because I'm keeping the calendar? Am I obeying God? Oh, you're sounding very vain when you say that, Joe. Yeah, well, maybe I am, and maybe it is still true. Maybe it's still true. He blesses those who obey him. My garden was the talk of the neighborhood. It was beautiful. Is that why? Because I'm obeying him. So anyway, I've had my little rant. I'm kind of, maybe that's what my next newsletter is going to be about. You know, you've seen the last one. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that I'm seeing, and I'm seeing a certain trend taking place. And it's bothering me because I can read it in the Bible. And everyone wants to talk about the Olympics or the vaccine or the fires and blame it all on climate change. But they don't blame Jehovah God, and they don't take responsibility for themselves. So, okay, I'm going to stop there. I've had my rant. I'm ranted out for the moment. We're going to do the Torah portion now.
Hey, and Glenn's right, Joe. We prayed for you immediately after that. So it was great news for us to hear that when you told us about the storm dissipating. So it was a good day.
Thank you. And yes, that's right. I do remember you guys did pray, and I forgot to mention that. Yes, your prayers are, they do work. What does he say about prayers? Okay, so he doesn't listen to the sinner's prayer, right? And we hear, they hear about the sinner's prayer. Yeah, he doesn't hear the prayers of sinners. He hears the prayers of the repentant. He hears the prayers of those who obey him. But if you're going to keep on sinning, he's not listening to you. And if some of you, you ask me to pray for this or that person, I don't. I'm sorry. I'll pray for the brethren. I'll pray for those who are obeying God. Jeremiah wanted to pray for the Jews in Jerusalem just before the Babylonian siege, and Jehovah said, don't pray for them. I will not hear you pray for them. That's hard. And I get it. It's hard. Pray for our brethren, each other. Pray that those who don't know come to know. Pray that we find those that Jehovah's calling. Pray for them. There is an innumerable multitude that are going to come through the tribulation. Okay? We are just right in front of the tribulation. You know, just look at the charts. Even if the tribulation is 2044 and 2041, even if that's the tribulation, that's only still 20 years away. But I don't believe that's the one. I believe it's 2030 to 2033. We will know in 2031. We'll actually know much earlier than that, but we'll know. But whatever it is, that's what you got to pray for. Do you know what you're supposed to do at that time? Do you remember the teaching we did on where you're supposed to go, when you're supposed to do it? Which way do you turn when you get across the to the fords there in Moab? Do you turn left or you turn right? Because one leads to death and one leads to the wilderness and facing God face to face. Do you know that? If you don't, go back to, what was it, June last year when we talked about it. The chronology that takes you up until those last 3.5 years into the wilderness during the tribulation. Anyway, anything else there, Randy? Okay. Can we, we're going to start in Genesis 47. Do we have someone to read Genesis 47 today?
Joe, Glenn just asked for scriptures for others.
What do you mean?
I'm not sure, but Glenn
Yeah, what you
asked
just
for
said, Joe. Others are asking, where is that specifically? If you can give it, or your newsletter.
Oh, my newsletter for the what I just said about the chronology there?
No, you said you were talking about one goes to the right, one goes to the left.
Oh, okay, that's in the chronology. When you cross over the Dead Sea, okay, so you flee through the mountain that splits in half, right? Mount of Olives splits in half, goes to north and south. You split through that, you go out and you come out in the valley of Azazel, and you follow that valley. That takes you down to the Dead Sea, just south of Qumran. So you have to actually walk up around the cliff and down to Qumran to come back down to the Dead Sea. And then you got to cross the Dead Sea someplace. And when you cross the Dead Sea there, it'll bring you over to the fords of Moab.
Okay. And
Okay.
that teaching you said was in your June letter?
June of last year, sometime around June last year.
June 2020. Thank you.
And so when you get there, Glenn, okay, you're told, it says in Isaiah that Moab is to hide you as a shadow in the night, right? So that ford is the border between Moab and Ammon. It's all Jordan today, but it's Moab and Ammon. And if you read what happens to Ammon's being invaded by the kings of the east during the Great Tribulation, and it reads every city that's being destroyed, and it starts at the north coming south. Every city is being destroyed as these army from the east comes through there to attack the beast power in Jerusalem. So you do not want to go into Ammon because those cities are going to be destroyed. You want to be in Moab, where you're going to be hidden as a shadow in the night. And there you'll be face to face with Jehovah God, where he's going to talk to you and teach you face to face.
Thank you.
Okay, Wilson, go ahead.
Well, this is going back to something else you said that made me nervous all of a sudden. And no, really, so we were looking at the moon, the phases, and trying to figure out. And from the information I was seeing, I didn't think it was possible to be able to see the moon on Monday night, or now I'm actually flustered right now. So
Monday,
anyway,
hang on, Monday night will be the 9th. Monday is the 9th of August. And Monday night is a potential. I believe I said before, Wilson, that this is a 30-day month.
see, that's what I thought. That's when I was looking at, and I
That's
didn't
what I
think the
thought.
percentage was. And so we've actually planned, and I know Yom Teruah you don't know, but because of the declared month, we'd planned, okay, for the day based on a 30-day month because of the percentage that I was seeing. I didn't think that it was possible to be seen from Israel. Now I'm kind of like gulp, re-looking at this and thinking what I told everybody, and so that brings me to the question: what is the percentage of illumination that we know you cannot see it? Like if it's less, they say X percent, like 1% and lower, or is it, at what point are you comfortable, very comfortable in saying, like if it's a 0.5% illumination, saying, no, you can't see that. There's no possible way. You understand my question?
I think I do. So just give me 1 second here. And I'll just pull it up here.
And I'm not trying to get us off on something else. I apologize.
No, don't apologize. This is all good questions. It's this time of year when we should be talking about these things so people understand. And Wilson, you're struggling with it. You're not a rookie. There are rookies here who are not sure what you're asking or saying, but your question is for them as well. So I'm going to share my screen. And what I'm pulling up here, Sombra, you see that? Yeah, okay. So this is when you go to Torah calendar, torahcalendar.com. It's a great site. It is really, the guy has done a lot of work. I've been trying to get him to adjust a couple things, but he won't. And Avi Ben Mordecai knows the man and tried to get him to talk with me, but he's going to stay where he's at. That's fine. He's going by the equinox. So he will not have Passover before the equinox. So therefore he adjusts his calendar as such. So knowing that, keeping that in mind, you can use this calendar. And I can use this calendar going all the way back to Adam, which is phenomenal. But I also got to give myself the variance of he's off 1 or 2 months, depending on which way I go. So this is Monday from Jerusalem. Inside the box, inside that white line, can you see my mouse? Yeah, inside that white line is the area that you can see the crescent moon. And you can see the crescent moon here at the bottom. And that's just above the area. So the higher up it is, the easier it is to see. But at this area, okay, it has a potential of not being seen. If it's below this line, it cannot be seen. So that's a 1%, I forget what the number is, 1.2, 1.5%. That doesn't matter to me. It's just, if it's below this line, the haze from the horizon, the smog and pollution makes it very difficult to see. You might be able to spot it with binoculars or a telescope, but with the naked eye, you can't. So if it's on the line, that's a very hard one to see. This one's just above the line, so we could have difficulty. Wilson, were you trying to say something?
No, that was me, Joe.
Yep.
If you would just scroll down the page a little bit, keep going, bring up some of the data here, the astronomical data. Some of this stuff, it looks pretty overwhelming. Most of it, really, I don't understand hardly any of it. But there is information to be gleaned from this. It's got your times and dates, the conjunction time, the age since conjunction. That's an important one. To my knowledge, the very earliest that a moon has ever been sighted is 13 hours after conjunction. That's the very, very earliest that I think that must have been with AIDS.
So are you saying that this, so he's got the conjunction time here is 1350?
UT, yep.
So so this is near that border limit of being seen. Is that what you're saying?
No, conjunction time is the actual time that the sun and the moon are longitudinally aligned in the
Yeah.
sky. That's your conjunction time. And then the line below that where it says age of moon since conjunction, that's basically the time that it's going to be visible and the amount of hours and days since the conjunction to that time.
Okay, so Kirk's confusing me. I'm very simple. The time that I look for here is a sunset to moonset.
That's on the day of your so on the 9th, when the sun goes down, is a whatever time it says here, moon sunset time. So there's a lag time from when the sun sets till when the moon sets. It's 57 minutes. They're 57 minutes behind each other in their tracking across the sky at this time.
So that's not very much time.
No, so at some point in that, between that, inside of that 57 minutes is when you're going to be able to see the moon.
Okay, so we go back up here to the chart. So from where the moon is there until the moon sets is 57 minutes. So if you were to count that off in minutes, right? So from the time that the moon is seen until it's invisible by the haze is going to be 10, 15 minutes. Do you see that?
Basically, yes, there's going to be a small window of visibility time.
Yes. So that's the important thing here. You have a very small window to sight the moon. If there's any clouds for 10, 15 minutes, then it might not be seen. And this is the great thing. Jehovah is in charge. He can put the clouds out there. He can put the haze out there. He can put the heavy haze or crystal clear skies for the viewers in Jerusalem to see. Now we know that Becca's going to be out there. She's going to be zeroed in on this because it's very keen for her. We know the other barley people will be looking, but they are not looking as keenly, right? For them, this is the start of the 6th month. So if they miss it, okay, no big deal. It's a big deal to us. So the question we're going to have is 2 witnesses.
So Joseph,
Yep.
just to be clear, so it could start Monday night is potential,
Yep.
but if not, it will start Tuesday night.
Yes.
Okay.
So if this was a 30-day month, there would be no guessing or
Right.
For some
And
reason,
I
I don't know
thought-
why I thought it was, but I remember saying that it was. And then when I went and checked it, it's not. And I said, well, why did I say that? I don't know why.
So is it okay then if I blame you?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
You
I'm
blame me
just
for all you
teasing.
want,
I'm
but
just
if you're
teasing,
going to
yeah.
sit and keep it on the wrong day, that's your.
No, I'm just people's work schedules, and you know how it is in
I
the
know.
world we live in, and it is what it is, but we try to get it right in advance.
I've actually
when
had
we
to go to
can.
I had to go to my boss and say, I got the wrong day. I got the wrong day. So, I told him I was taking off and the next day,
Yeah,
and then the moon sighted that night.
yeah.
And I said, oh no. So I call him, leave a message. I can't come in today. I got my dates mixed up. I'm sorry. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And just not show
yeah.
up.
And for me, in the situation I'm in, that isn't so much as a problem, but the others and the younger folks that have adjusted different things, it is what it is. But, I was like, no, it's a 30-day. It's okay. This is when it will be everything. So now I'm, oh no. So
Yeah.
anyway,
But Wilson, even that, I did the exact, I said, oh no. oh, no, man. And because of my position, people are sort of relying on my
Sure. Oh, yeah, I
judgment and
get
stuff.
it. Yeah.
Oh, what did I do? So I've actually put out different dates at the wrong dates. I've had people write back and say, Joe, you got these dates wrong. And I go and check and yeah, I did. So I had to redo them, but I got them corrected within, 2 hours of posting my newsletter.
Yeah.
But this, what does it say? Watch,
Yeah. Yep.
watch. Who's it telling to watch? Joe Dumond? No. But yes. Who's it telling to watch? Wilson? Yes.
Isn't that the 30th day though? So automatically it's gonna be Monday night?
See,
That's
that's
what,
what
here-
I thought,
here-
Glenn, too. That's
here,
what I
Glenn,
was
let me just
thinking
show ya.
originally.
because that's what Becca just mentioned, I think it was today or
What's
yesterday.
going on here? No, what month am I in here? I'm in the wrong month, 6th month. So it'd be their 5th month.
If I
August
may, we
9th.
had our new,
So here's August 9th, August 8th, 9th. It's a 29-day month. So I did not go back to check. Did we start at the same time?
Yes, we did.
We did. Okay,
Right.
so then it's a 29-day month.
I've got on my calendar that I've been keeping track and verified, I don't know when, sometime
Because
ago.
Becca had just claimed this, I think it was this morning or yesterday, that automatically Monday night is the 30th day by default, and it's not gonna be seen the day before, which would be Sunday night. That's what she's saying. 'Cause she's
Right.
pretty, that's what she just said, like, I think it was this morning or yesterday. So I did not check, but
Hey.
I have that issue too, because I have to close my business. I have to give people advance notice. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, gee, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. What do you do, right?
But
So,
this could be one of those days when we don't know, Glenn.
So
yeah, I understand.
according to my calendar that I've been keeping, or, the one that we've got from Sighted Moon, and I've been keeping it up, that Monday night, August 9th, Monday evening, the 29th day is going to begin on Sunday evening. So that Monday is the 29th day.
Yeah.
So Kurt, where'd you get that from? You said cited what? Cited
Well, this
Moon.
is the
Can you
calendar
trust- Can
that-
you trust those guys? I just don't know.
I don't know. Well, I know you certainly can't trust me.
Sorry,
whatever I
Joe.
say.
So
Joe,
we
before
have,
move on, can I just ask you about that article? You said last summer you did an article about Moab. Do
I
you
think it was a
know-
video teaching one Shabbat. We did it.
Okay, so, a video teaching, not a newsletter.
Yeah, a video teaching.
Okay, because people are asking for the link and I'm trying to find it. Okay,
So I can see the importance of like the paper calendar that who made this calendar? Was it Pauline?
Pauline made, yes.
It's valuable. Started at the start of the year and carried on through, and it works. It helps to see where we're at. We're actually at something also that matters is we're at day 170. Well, today we're at day 175 since the beginning of the year. Helps
Okay,
you
so
keep on
what does
track.
that mean, Kurt?
Well, 6 months, basically it's 100 and Yom Teruah lands either on the 107th, 77th or 178th day, according to my reckoning, my tracking through time. It's when it happens. That's half the year. It's just another
Okay.
way to just another way to keep it, but to keep track of whether you had a 29th day, 29 day or a 30-day month is important. Keep track of that. Keep track of your conjunction times. They're important. It doesn't begin a holy day or anything, doesn't even begin the month, but it's an astronomical event that it's got nothing to do with what man did or didn't do or thinks or doesn't think. It happens, and doesn't matter what we think about it. It's like a clock. When it strikes 12, it only strikes 12 for 1 second. That's what a conjunction is. It's a mark in time.
I've just checked my calendar according to the newsletter, and the newsletter on the Sabbath was the 6th day of the 6th month, which means that Torah calendar has got the right start of the month. So just confirming what Torah calendar he's got, and this is a 29-day month. So I'm not sure what Becca's looking at. I will write her after and just tell her, maybe double check that. It's not a 30-day month.
Yeah, double checking is important because it's quite easy to get off track.
Yeah.
So collaborating amongst us, and checking each other's numbers and stuff is perfectly good.
Last time I looked in the mirror, I was still human. So yeah, always double check me. I think Stuart wants to get in there.
Yes, hello, Joseph. On the topic of double checking, this week's Torah portion readings start with Genesis 48, not Genesis 47. Those were last week's Torah portion readings.
Okay, see, I copied them over and got sidetracked.
Joe, just a thought about the moon in Israel. For me, where I am situated, I'm 7 hours ahead of Israel. So when I go to bed, I don't get any information until an hour before I start work. Now, in that hour, I've already booked that day off because I had to let the boss know. And I'm praying that we see it in Israel because I booked it off. I only get an hour to change my mind, and therefore I have to change the days. But I'm praying that what's happening. I was realizing too that it was the 29th of the evening, and I was wondering how early or late the moon would be seen. And it's going to be a fine line, and we've got to be willing to change. That's what the important understanding comes out.
And what's that
If you have
scripture?
a good relationship with your boss, though, and you tell him what you're doing, why you're doing it, that it's a religious observance, it's no different than taking a sick day. You warn him, I may be taking this day, I may be taking that day. I'm not going to be available, but the boss doesn't know what days you're taking sick days. So it's about
Yep.
relationship.
And she's right, but sometimes the bosses are dicks and you cannot have a relationship with them.
Well,
Like Randy's a boss, and I just, he could be hard head to work with, right? So what's a scripture that says one will be working, or two will be working, one will be taking? Two will be doing this, one will be taken.
one will be in the field, and two will be in the field, and one will be taken, one will
I
be
think
left
it's
behind.
Matthew 24, I think it is. Why are they both working? Well, one should know. Well, it's like this. We just don't know. Why has Judah traditionally, since the diaspora, always taken the Feast of Trumpets? No other holy day, but only the Feast of Trumpets they kept for 2 days. They kept it for 2 days because they just didn't know, and they didn't have telephones, so it took that long for them to figure it out. And they kept it for 2 days. So if we're going to have a troubled decision, then the easy thing, I'll just book off 2 days. When it's on the weekend, it's easy because you got 2 days to do it on. But during the work week, okay, book off 2 days. It's just book off 2 days. If you don't know, book off 2 days. If it turns out that it's one over the other, call up the boss, say, hey, I'm available today. You still want me to come in? Please, pretty please. Yeah, okay, go back to work. Okay,
Yep. Thank you.
Sombra, did you got your hand up? That's from a long time ago. You're okay? Okay. Who, can we start? Let's start with the Torah portion. And thank you, Stuart, for pointing it out to me. I'm on the wrong week. Chapter 48. Who's our first reader?
You have Elaine? Yes, ma'am. 48 instead of 47, please.
Okay. And it came to pass after these things that one said to Joseph, Lo, thy father is sick. So he took his 2 sons with him, Manasseh and Ephraim. And one told Jacob and said, Lo, thy son Joseph coming in unto thee. So Israel strengthened himself and sat up on the couch. Then said Jacob unto Joseph, El Almighty appeared unto me in Luz, in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, Behold me, about to make thee fruitful, so I will multiply thee and give thee to become a multiple of peoples. So will I give this land to thy seed after thee, as in age abiding possession. Now therefore thy 2 sons who were born to thee in the land of Egypt, before I came in unto thee in Egypt, are mine. Ephraim and Manasseh, like Reuben and Simon, shall be mine. But thine offspring which thou hast begotten after them, thy own shall they be. After the name of their brethren shall they be called in their inheritance. But as for me, when I came in from Padan, Rachel died by me in the land of Canaan in the way, while yet there was a stretch of country to come into Ephraim. So I buried her there in the way of Ephraim. The same is Bethlehem. Then Israel saw Joseph's sons and said, Who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, My sons, they are whom Elohim hath given me in this place. And he said, Bring them, I pray thee, unto me, that I may bless them. Now the eyes of Israel had become dim from old age. He could not see, so he drew them near unto him, and kissed them, and embraced them. And Israel said unto Joseph, To see thine own face I had not thought, and lo, Elohim hath caused me to see even thy seed. And Joseph brought them out from beside his knee, and bowed himself down with his face towards the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in the right hand, and Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in the left hand, on Israel's right hand, and drew them near unto him. Then Israel put forth his right hand, and laid it upon the head of Ephraim, though he was younger, and his left hand upon the head of Manasseh, crossing his hands, although Manasseh was the firstborn. Thus blessed he Joseph, and said, Elohim himself, before whom walked my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, Elohim himself, who hath been my shepherd since I came into being until this day, the messenger who hath been my redeemer from all evil, bless the lads, and may they be called upon them my name, in the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, and may they swarm into the multitude in the midst of the earth. And Joseph saw that his father had laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, and it was displeasing to him. So he took hold of his father's hand to remove it from off the head of Ephraim and onto the head of Manasseh. And Joseph said unto his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Lay thy hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and he also shall become great. But nevertheless, his younger brother shall become greater than he, and his seed shall become filling up of the nations. And he blessed them on that day, saying, in thee let Israel bless himself. Say, Elohim set thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. So he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said unto Joseph, lo, I am about to die, but it shall come to pass that Elohim will be with you, and will take you back into the land of your fathers. But I have given to thee one mountain wreck above thy brethren, which I took out of the hand of the Amorite, with my sword and with my bow. Am I good?
Okay. Sorry, I had to move there. We could probably talk in this chapter all day. This is one of those great chapters in Genesis where the blessing has been passed down to us today. And we're reading beforehand about the curses here that are going on. And they're happening to these same people. So who is Manasseh and who is Ephraim? And there's a big debate about that, who they are. Manasseh, I believe to be the Americans. Ephraim, I believe to be the United Kingdom. But it seems to go the other way around according to what it says here. I don't know, but they're both tied in there. This is the key chapter for Joseph. And then you find the children after this, even the children of Manasseh, you can trace down to the Americans. Right? Manasseh, Manasseh, American, Mercy. If you haven't read that or watched the video on this lately, go and watch the 10 tribes video. This is where it starts right there.
Sons of Machir.
Sons of Machir. And who is Machir's father?
Manasseh.
Manasseh. And Machir is where we get the Americans from. So, anyone got any comments they want to make on this chapter? Okay, so if I don't see no hands, we'll go to Samuel, 2 Samuel 24. And somebody help me out. Are we supposed to do two chapters or one chapter here this week?
Just 24.
Just 24. Okay.
And I've got that, Joe. This is Shauna.
Okay, Shauna. Yeah, so hang on one second. Laurie Dawn, Ephraim is Britain and the company. Okay, good enough. Go ahead, Shauna, if you want. Or Wilson, go ahead.
Well, I will say something. You said we could talk all day on this, and I thought, boy, I was waiting for the people to get going, and then here we go. So
if we're singing to the choir, maybe nobody wants to say anything about it. I don't know.
There's something here, and this may go over well, and it may not. Verse 7, where it says, now as for me, when I came from Padam, Rachel died suddenly as we were traveling through the land of Canaan, while we were still some distance from Ephrat. So I buried her there on the way to Ephrat, also known as Bethlehem. Now, there's a place that's called Rachel's tomb in in Bethlehem, right? But I don't know if you've ever heard of the Northern theory on Rachel's tomb, Joseph.
Go ahead, explain what you're going to say.
Okay. Well, there are going north out of Jerusalem, out of Pisgat Ze'ev, when you're going to Sha'ar Binyamin, that leads, you go through the checkpoint and you go into to Judea and Samaria, on the wrong side of the fence, if you will, through the checkpoint. There are 4 massive rock formations. When I say massive, they're these squares built from rock, rectangles built from rock. And I'm going to say they're like, I don't know, 100 foot long and, 6-8 feet tall and, 10 feet wide. Okay. Somewhere in that range. That's a very rough estimate. I lived for a time just above these. You could look down on them. And it got me thinking, well, one of them, there was 5 of these. And one was taken out when they put the road in. And they were known historically to be the tombs of the women that were associated with Joseph. And there is a theory, and I actually think it's correct. Can't prove it. And I don't have the study in front of me, but you guys can look this up, that actually Rachel was buried there. And when you understand where Jacob was coming from and where he was going to, because he was coming from Sukkot, where he, modern day, I'm using the term of the town, he was coming from where he had made the altar and coming down that way to Bethlehem, and what the word Ephrat means, which is fruitful. So there's a lot of places actually named that she was not taken all the way to Bethlehem. She was buried on the way, and it is not the location that people think today in Bethlehem. So there's my 2 cents. And I know I have nothing here. I'm showing you that, but it's something you can ponder and think about and do with it what you will.
So you're saying on the north side of Jerusalem,
Yep.
okay, not on the south side where
No, you know
we
where?
actually, the guy actually stayed in La Raquel. Or,
Yeah, right. Yep.
and we had our feast there one year.
This is not a popular theory by any means. And I studied it out, and this guy did some pretty good research on it. I thought anyway, for the argument. And there's, like I say, there's these structures. So this would be, north, where Pisgat Ze'ev is. And I'm trying to think of some better, just like if you were going to drive to Jerusalem up to Shiloh, that road, the first, when you leave the checkpoint, you probably go over into a slight valley and then a bigger valley before you'd come up to where Ramallah is. And that big valley there, you drive literally right by it off to on the north side of the road. If you were driving north, the road kind of actually it turns there, but off your right side are these 4 massive stone monuments that people have historically have known them to be the women associated with Joseph. And I forget who it is right now, but the different, maidservants and different ones that they buried there along with Rachel, because Rachel was the first one to be buried there. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'll try to pull something up and send it to you, Joseph.
Okay, I think I
Because it
know.
says that Deborah was buried there too, right? Rachel's
There's
servant?
5 women, and I honestly, right off the top of my head, I wasn't planning on talking about this. I can't tell you who it was, but there were 5 significant women, Rachel being the first and foremost and most significant.
I've been through that valley a bunch of times, and I'm trying to remember what these pillars are that you're talking about. I never had them pointed out to me, so I don't know what they are.
Yeah, I'll try to pull up something on Google Earth or a picture or something here while we go on, and then if
But I think I was starting to panic by the time I got there, because I'm on the road to Ramallah. I don't want to go to Ramallah.
Yeah, you got to take a right, not a left.
Yeah, how do I get out of here?
That's where we lived, right there at Shar Binyamin, or Adam, it's called, for a time.
Yeah, Wilson, send me that. I might, I'd like to have a look at it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else comments here? Again, if you haven't watched the video, you need to watch the video of the 10 tribes. This is where it starts, right here. Okay, nobody. Okay, Shauna.
In 2 Samuel 24, now again, the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and it incited David against them to say, "Go, number Israel and Judah." And the king said to Joab, the commander of the army who was with him, "Go about now through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, and register the people, that I may know the number of the people." But Joab said to the king, "Now may the Lord your God add to the people 100 times as many as they are, while the eyes of my lord the king still see. But why does my lord the king delight in this thing?" Nevertheless, the king's word prevailed against Joab and against the commanders of the army. So Joab and the commanders of the army went out from the presence of the king to register the people of Israel. And they crossed the Jordan and camped in Aroer on the right side of the city that is in the middle of the valley of Gad and toward Jazer. Then they came to Gilead and to the land of Tatim Badshi, and they came to Dan Jaan and around to Sidon, and came to the fortress of Tyre, and to all the cities of the Hivites and of the Canaanites, and they went out to the south of Judah to Beersheba. And when they had gone about through the whole land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 months and 20 days. And Joab gave the number of the registration of the people to the king. And there were in Israel 800,000 valiant men who drew the sword, and the men of Judah were 500,000 men. Now David's heart troubled him after he had numbered the people. So David said to the Lord, "I have sinned greatly in what I have done. But now, O Lord, please take away the iniquity of thy servant, for I have acted very foolishly." When David arose in the morning, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, "Go and speak to David. Thus the Lord says, I am offering you 3 things. Choose for yourself one of them, which I may do to you." So Gad came to David and told him, and said to him, "Shall 7 years of famine come to you in your land? Or will you flee 3 months before your foes while they pursue you? Or shall there be 3 days pestilence in your land? Now consider and see what answer I shall return to him who sent me." Then David said to Gad, "I am in great distress. Let us now fall into the hand of the Lord, for his mercies are great. But do not let me fall into the hand of man." So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning until the appointed time, and 70,000 men of the people from Dan to Beersheba died. When the angel stretched out his hand toward Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord relented from the calamity and said to the angel who destroyed the people, "It is enough. Now relax your hand." And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. Then David spoke to the Lord when he saw the angel who was striking down the people, and said, "Behold, it is I who have sinned, and it is I who have done wrong. But these sheep, what have they done? Please let thy hand be against me and against my father's house." So Gad came to David that day and said to him, "Go up, erect an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite." And David went up according to the word of Gad, just as the Lord had commanded. And Araunah looked down and saw the king and his servants crossing over toward him. And Araunah went out and bowed his face to the ground before the king. Then Araunah said, "Why has my lord the king come to his servant?" And David said, "To buy the threshing floor from you, in order to build an altar to the Lord, that the plague may be held back from the people." And Araunah said to David, "Let my lord the king take and offer up what is good in his sight. Look, the oxen for the burnt offering, the threshing sledges, and the yokes of the oxen for the wood. Everything, O king, Araunah gives to the king. And Araunah said to the king, May the Lord your God accept you. However, the king said to Araunah, No, but I will surely buy it from you for a price, for I will not offer burnt offerings to the Lord my God, which cost me nothing. So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. And David built there an altar to the Lord and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. Thus the Lord was moved by entreaty for the land, and the plague was held back from Israel.
Thank you, Shauna. This is a very interesting chapter. When did this take place? What year is this in David's life? Or Sombra? You don't
That's
have an
not what I
answer.
want to talk about.
Okay, just hold on a second. If you look on the very next chapter, 1 Kings, now King David was old and advanced in years. So this is the end of King David's life when this takes place. Exactly what year this takes place? We know the year that King David died. You got your charts? You look in your charts, you go to King David's death, which is 1010, oops, that's the wrong one. 970 BC. 970 BC is when Solomon takes over. Okay, so now you go back here and you read, what did Jehovah say? Verse 11 and 12. Now when King David arose in the morning, the word of the Lord came to the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, Go and tell David, thus says the Lord, I offer you 3 things. Choose one of them for yourself, that I may do it to you. And what are those 3 things? Well, I don't want you to read what it says here in chapter or verse 13. I want you to go back to Leviticus 26. And I want you to read the curses starting in verse 23. And if by these things you are not reformed by me, but walk contrary to me, then I also will walk contrary to you, and I will punish you yet 7 times for your sins. And I will bring a sword against you that will execute the vengeance of the covenant. So one of the curses that David's got is a sword. And you shall be delivered to the hand of the enemy. When I have cut off your supply of bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall bring back your bread by weight, and you shall eat, not be satisfied. So what was the other thing? 7 years of famine would come onto your land. Verse 27 of Daniel, or of Leviticus 26. And after all this, if you are not, I will even chastise you sometimes and eat the flesh of your dog. No, I missed one here. Famine. Where's the plague? Did I read over the plague? Oh, pestilence right there, verse 25. Right? So we got sword, pestilence, and famine. Leviticus 26. And here, these are the 3 curses David gets to choose from. And they come in the, when did David die? 970, he dies. The 4th sabbatical cycle. These are the 4th set of curses, Leviticus 26. This is the 4th sabbatical cycle that we're in right now. Plague, famine, and sword. Now we got the plague. David chose the plague. I don't know if there's a connection there. are we still got the sword and famine coming? I believe we do.
Well,
Yes.
if we got the plague first, the plague must be easier than the famine or the sword.
But remember, they're cumulative in their period. So
They
we
are.
here in the fourth, we have war, pestilence, famine, and one other right now. Terror.
Yes, yes, but if David chose the plague, it must be because the plague is less than the
It's
famine.
quick and miserable, and then you can recover, whereas the others are longer and more prolonged. So he wants to get it done and over with so he can get back on his feet and continue with his.
But David threw
Kingdom.
himself on Jehovah's mercy.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what he did. Now, the other question I got for you is why is Jehovah doing this?
Well, that's where I want to come in and answer.
Okay,
Okay, so because we have Araunah, who is part of the big part of this story that we just read. So what does the name Araunah mean? It means Yah is firm. It also means a large tree, but it comes from the word Aran, which means to be agile, aroused, or at the center of cheer. And it means, and then Yah, which is the certain name of the Lord. It says there's only one man named Araunah in the Bible, but his name comes in 4 different spellings throughout 2 Samuel 24. He's called Araunah, except for verse 24, where he is called Ha-Avarna, or the Avarna. In verse 24:18, where he's called Arania, and throughout 1 Chronicles 21 and 2 Chronicles 3 verse 1, he's called Ornan. So Araunah is the last mentioned Jebusite in the Bible. When King David foolishly orders a census of Israel, the Lord retaliates with a 3-day plague, because of which 70,000 men die. After 3 days, the angel who does the killing stops at the threshing floor of Araunah, and the prophet Gad commands David to build an altar on the spot. Araunah wishes to donate the land to his king, but David refuses to accept it and pays 50 shekels of silver for it instead. The parallel story in Chronicles speaks of 600 shekels of gold. So I read Ezekiel 14 about how God is not going to let up, even if Noah and Elijah and Job were there. Only those 3 are going to survive. It's not like there's a covering, it's not like Noah gets to cover all 8 of the people who were in his ark. It's not like Job gets to cover his whole family. Only the righteous will survive. Jehovah is firm. And then I think it was Kurt that read that it would be Jehovah's delight to hold this judgment. It would be his delight. And that's because it's all love. It wouldn't be love if he just lets everybody get away with everything. It's not love if you don't at a certain point hold the judgment and say enough is enough. Jehovah is firm. And what was your question about?
Summer's just in her own little world here.
No, but you said something about,
I said, why did Jehovah bring this on him?
because Jehovah is firm, because he is a righteous judge, because of love, because he wants us to hear him. He means it. He wants to save us. And if
But David took a census is the answer.
Well, yeah.
David took a census. What was the purpose of David's census?
Well, he thought he wanted to know how strong he was. And he doesn't need all those people to be strong. He just needs Jehovah.
He did it to see how strong he was.
And,
Right.
but it's the same thing with us. We don't need to find out who's equal to us, who's going to protect us, who's going to do this. We just need to know that we are following Jehovah. He is our strength.
He is our fortress and we need nothing else.
We need nothing else. Okay, now I'll be quiet.
Okay, Jenny.
We're missing verse 1 though. Already Jehovah was displeased with Israel, and he moved David against them to go number them. So it wasn't even David, it was Jehovah. They were already messing up and doing something.
Good point. Yes, I see that.
So David was just a pawn.
Okay, so now we gotta go back and read chapter 23. What were they doing? Talking about the mighty men. I don't have an answer for that. What were they doing? Well, I kind of got an answer.
Well, isn't it because he had just killed all the other sons of Gath through his people that he told to do?
Sorry, Patty, you got a chapter and verse? Where are you seeing that? We may have lost Patty. What I was going to,
Sorry, would it
Go ahead,
also
Paul.
be that David was relying on the strength of his men instead of on Jehovah? That keeps coming back. And God pushed it a little bit to show David how much that is fruitless by doing the census.
well, in chapter 23 is talking about the mighty men of David. You may have a point. If you go to Jeremiah, here's something to think about. Jeremiah talks about Israel going into captivity for 70 years. Each year for 70 Shmitah years that they did not keep. They went into captivity in 586 BC. So if you count 586 BC, you count every Shmitah year and Jubilee year from that time going back, guess where you end up? You end up before the time of King David. You end up back in the time of the judges.
In 2 Samuel 21, verse 17, it says, "You shall not go with us into battle anymore, lest you extinguish the lamp of Israel." So if you back up and figure out what that phrase is about, it says, "But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, came to his aid, David's aid, and he attacked the Philistine and he killed him. It was then that David's men declared to him an oath, 'You shall not go with us into battle anymore, lest you extinguish the lamp of Israel.'" They're talking about going into battle without their leadership. And if you extrapolate that even more, and then you take this census of where your strength is, the strength is not in the mighty men. The strength is in Jehovah, in the leadership of Israel. If they're going to go into battle without their leadership, they're going to go into battle without Jehovah. And that would anger Jehovah. That would cause him to flare up against Israel.
Okay. And I'm saying on top of that, Randy?
If we can go to 1 Chronicles 21. Excuse me. See, I told you it was the devil. It's his fault. First Chronicles 21, verse 1, and Satan stood up against Israel and moved David to number Israel. So the devil made him do it. David was tempted and he failed. Is that what we're reading?
Yeah.
Right there, it says Satan did it. Tempted.
Okay, but hang on. See, now you're gonna get yourself into a corner here.
Well,
Read
no,
it-
but
read-
that's
hang on,
exactly
hang
the
on.
same thing
No,
going
no,
without
hang
your
on, Somber, hang
kingship.
on. Randy, read that again. Chapter 21, verse 1.
And Satan stood up against Israel and moved David to number Israel.
Okay, now go read 2 Samuel 24, verse 1.
And again, the displeasure of Jehovah burned against Israel and moved David against them to say, go number Israel and Judah.
So who is the one causing David to go do it here?
Jehovah. You have to
And
be following the
It's
right.
all Jehovah, all
Are
Jehovah.
you saying that Jehovah is also Satan, Randy?
He's using as his right.
No. Wouldn't say that at all. No, sir.
But you just read the scriptures that said it was.
Okay,
What it
but
said?
that's the imitator, right? You can't follow the imitator, even if the imitator is saying the same thing as what the authority is saying.
It's not the imitator saying this. First Chronicles 21, 1. Now Satan stood up against Israel and moved. So Satan is the one moving David to number Israel. And 2 Samuel 24, the anger again, the anger of the Lord, Jehovah, was aroused against Israel. And he moved. Who moved? He moved. Jehovah moved David against them to say, if we use these two scriptures, Jehovah and Satan are one and the same.
There's two different
No,
types.
you're reading that too far into that.
I'm just reading the scriptures, Wilson.
Yeah, I know what you're doing. He's a tool. Satan's a tool. He's the same thing. We have a choice. We had a choice in the garden because you had to have something there evil. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a choice between good and evil. And Jehovah uses Satan continually to tempt people to test and then to work out the will that he wants. You look at the end result of all this is the altar was set up and established in Jerusalem. Well, that was Jehovah's plan from a long time before.
So that was Satan's doing.
Nope.
You know,
But-
people forget who created Satan. Why did he create Satan? As a tool, just like he uses Assyria as his rod, just like he uses every adversary as his rod, even his adversarial angels he uses, like in the ass with what's his name?
Balaam.
Balaam. Yeah, the same thing there. I've had discussions with people. They go, "Oh, the Satan's doing it. Satan's doing it." No, Jehovah's doing it using his tool. Who's his tool this time? Satan. That's it. So it's always Jehovah allowing these evil things to happen. I'm not going to necessarily say that Jehovah creates evil, but he uses evil to get his will across and to get his, so his word doesn't come back void.
Hold on, Glenn, as soon as you said that, and I can't think of the verse, but I am Jehovah, I make evil.
Yep, I agree.
Isaiah someplace, I forgot where it is. I am Jehovah, I make evil.
Yep. And what did he do? Who did he make? He made Satan. Who is Satan? He's evil.
Yeah,
He made it.
Stephen has Isaiah 45 here in the chat. I'm not sure. But. Okay, Sombra, did you want to get on that or you?
No, I'm just saying when the first incident comes and it's Satan saying it to David, David has already lost his rudder. He's already lost the vision of who the master is because he's lost his leadership. And that's why he follows the false leadership of Satan. Even though the message is exactly the same as what Jehovah will later tell him to do, the fact is he didn't hear the message from Satan and then go back and check with Jehovah. And that's what he should have done, because he should have recognized the false leadership.
Okay, so why is it wrong to take a census?
Well, in that specific case, it was because of,
He lost faith.
well, because it's about numbering your strength from humanity. And when you take a,
Joab recognized that, and you're right, okay, but there's still, you can still do that and still number the people.
but only when Jehovah tells you to number your people.
I'm going to disagree. It says in Leviticus, when you number the people, you shall give a shekel or 5 shekels, I forget what it is, to the sanctuary. Does David do that here? Does he collect the 5 shekels? Did he offer to the sanctuary? No, he didn't do any of that. So he broke that law. They used to do the head tax count on the mountain called the head. Today you know that as Golgotha. Right?
Now, how about Moses? When
Moses numbered the people twice.
Right. How did that work out?
Did he pay a tax?
Sorry, I'm not prepared.
Yeah, I don't think we read about Moses paying a tax. They most likely did. The first one was after they crossed the Red Sea. The second one was at the end of the 42 years, after Simeon gets up and leaves, after their prince is killed. That's when he numbers them again. So does he take a tax at the time? I don't recall reading it, but he's supposed to have. And considering that he would have wrote down the law, I think he would have known. So the place where they do the head tax is outside Jerusalem on the Mount of Moriah, on the Mount of Olives, called the Mount of Offense today, called Golgotha. That's where they did the head tax, because the mountain looks like a head. Excuse me. Okay, Jenny.
I'm looking in First Chronicles chapter 20, and it seems like David, maybe his trouble came from like verse 2. He took their sovereign's crown from his head and found it weighed a talent of gold. There were precious stones in it. It was set on David's head. He also brought out the spoil of the city, a great amount. Like maybe he didn't give Yehovah credit for their victory there.
You may have a point. You may have a point. Okay, Kurt.
Okay, I don't know why my video is so weird, but whatever. There's something interesting going on here in First Chronicles. Well, what are we? 2 Samuel 24, where I'm in JPS Tanakh, so I've got the Hebrew beside the English. It says he incited David against them. Well, that caught my eye, and here he uses Aleph Tav David. Then in 1 Chronicles 21, where it's this same thing is, it says Satan incited David. to number Israel, it uses the Aleph Tav before David, and it also uses the Aleph Tav connected to Israel. But there's other places in this same chapters where the Aleph Tav is not used in front of David. So there's something interesting going on here, and I certainly can't explain it, but I can.
So in verse 20, or chapter 21 of First Chronicles, you're saying it said, now Satan stood up against Aleph Tav Israel and moved Aleph Tav David to number Israel. Is that what you're saying?
It uses, yes, in the first instance of Israel's mention, it's a El, Ayin Lamed, Israel. Then the next time it's Aleph Tav David and Aleph Tav Israel. So there's something going on. I know there's a whole study around the Aleph Tavs, and I can't explain that one, but there's something interesting going on here.
I agree with that, Kurt. Absolutely. There's, and I'm just conjecture here, but can you lose your spirit for a little while until you repent? I don't know. I think so.
You could possibly lose the sensitivity of the spirit.
So we have in the chat, Exodus 20, the ransom money. Then the Lord spoke to Moses saying that this is Exodus 20, verse 11. When you take a census of the children of Israel for their number, then every man shall give a ransom for himself to the Lord. When you number them, that there may be no plague among them. When you number them, this is what everyone among those who are numbered shall give: half a shekel, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, a shekel of 20 gerah. A half shekel shall be an offering to the Lord. Everyone included among those who are numbered from 20 years old and above shall give an offering to the Lord. The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel.
Men only, right?
When you give an offering to the Lord to make atonement for yourselves, and you shall take the atonement money of the children of Israel and shall appoint it for the services of the tabernacle of meeting, that it may be a memorial for the children of Israel before the Lord to make atonement for yourself. See, now all of a sudden your census is turned into an atonement for the people. Very interesting. Very interesting. Rebecca.
We've just had a census taken in Australia and it'll be registered on Tuesday night.
And did you pay your half shekel, Paul?
I haven't paid a half shekel because I didn't know that that was even in there at this point. But how much is a half shekel?
A lot more.
I've paid a lot more in taxes, but I don't know.
This is not taxes. We're not talking about taxes to the Australian government. This is a half shekel to the temple or sanctuary.
Wow.
Rebecca.
When you worked as a foreman, you used your crewmen to build projects. Some of them were like enemies. They didn't want to do what you wanted them to do. Still, the project was done. It doesn't mean they were equal to you. This was a thought of the earlier discussion.
Okay, and I'm trying to think, how is that? How are you comparing me to Satan here? I'm not getting it.
Not to Satan, but you said that you compared Jehovah with Satan. I mean, I know you are challenging us in our thinking.
I'm just reading the scripture. I'm just reading what the scripture said, you know?
So then when I use this illustration, is the same like when you worked with your crewmen and used them. So Jehovah is using even Satan. It doesn't mean they are equal or they replace each other. Your crewmen didn't replace you and they were not equal to you. Still, you use them to do projects. That was just a thought at that point in the discussion. Sorry to.
Okay, no, don't be sorry to bring it up. Bring it up. Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know what that means. I'm now we got et David, and et Israel. Okay, Ruth, what are you saying there about First Chronicles 27? What's that about? You guys gonna put the chapters up here, tell me what they're for, so I help me out. 27, 23, 24. Okay, so here's the answer that I've been looking for. Thank you,
Yep.
Ruth. But David, so this is First Chronicles 27, verse 23 and 24. But David did not take the number of those 20 years old and under, because the Lord had said he would multiply Israel like the stars of the heavens. Joab, the son of Zeruiah, began a census, but he did not finish, for wrath came upon Israel because of the census. Nor was the number of the number recorded in the account of the Chronicles of King David, which confirms my saying that this curse comes as a result of the census. So the other thing, again, if you count 70 Jubilee cycles or 70 Shmitah, it brings you back to the time of King David and before. Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, and King David, you would think those two would have been keeping the Shmitah years. But 70 of them brings you back to this time. So something is wrong in Israel. Anyone else?
The threshing floor. Where is that today?
Okay. If you are familiar with the city of David, you come into this big wooden platform in the city of David. They got a big harp there, and you buy your ticket to go down to the Hezekiah's tunnel. As you walk down that walkway to Hezekiah's tunnel, you walk right past or on top of, and I'm not sure exactly where it is because I have never been there. I've been walking by it all these years, and I've been kicking myself because I've been doing that and just didn't know. But you walk past this place where Shaquille, I forgot his last name, has found the anointing stone and the sacrificial place that he says comes from the time of Melchizedek. Melchizedek was doing sacrifices here. This is where he would have sacrificed with Abraham. And that stone, that place, would have been the very same place that David would have bought. The threshing floor of Araunah. And Solomon, so if you can imagine this fortress wall going up there, and then beside the fortress wall would be a moat, and then beside the moat would be the sacrificial place outside the city, outside of what then would have been the city of David. Solomon filled in that moat and built the temple over top of that, so that the Holy of Holies would have been over top of this sacrificial place that Melchizedek used. And that's just a recent discovery they got in Jerusalem.
Is that stone smooth?
No, it's not smooth.
Is it jagged?
A little bit.
Not as bad as the one under the mosque?
I don't know about the one under the mosque. It's got some rough edges on the one. If you look it up, look up.
Is it unhewn?
It's not hewn, no.
No, it's unhewn, unhewn stones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah. If you just Google Eli somebody and Melchizedek's pillar stone, you should have pictures of it.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on and read Psalms. I got Psalm 93, but that's from last week. So what psalm are we reading this week?
We have 94 through 98.
That's me. Give me 1 second. Take a breath. I'll
No
get
worries.
right on it.
94 to 98.
It was Psalms 94, 98. Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. There we go.
Oh, just before you start there, Glenn, Ruth's got in the chat here, verses, First Chronicles 20, verse 5 and 7, David did not count Levi and Benjamin. Verse 7, Jehovah angry and struck Israel. So there's quite a bit you can read in there about all that's going on here in different places in Chronicles.
Can you repeat that again? 94 what? Psalms 94?
Psalms 94.
Right, the whole chapter and then up to chapter 98. But just read as many as you want, brother. Don't do them all.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. O God of vengeance, Jehovah, the God of vengeance, shine forth. Lift up yourself, judge of the earth. Give a just repayment to the proud. How long shall the wicked, O Jehovah, how long shall the wicked exalt? They gush, they speak imprudent things. All the workers of iniquity speak proudly. They crush your people, O Jehovah, inflict your inheritance. They kill the widow and the stranger and murder the fatherless. Yet they say, Jehovah shall not see, nor shall the God of Jacob observe it. Understand, you beastly ones among the people and fools, when will you be wise? He who planted the ear shall not hear. He who formed the eye shall he not see. He who chastens the nations shall he not correct. He who teaches man knowledge. Jehovah knows the thoughts of man, that they are vain. Blessed is the man who you chasten, O Jehovah, to teach him out of your law, that you may give him rest from the days of trouble until the pit is dug for the wicked. For Jehovah will not cast off his people, nor will he forsake his inheritance. That's a promise. But judgment shall return to righteousness, and all the upright in heart shall follow it. Who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? Unless Jehovah had been my help, excuse me, my soul had almost dwelt in silence. When I said my foot slips, you mercy, O Jehovah, help me up. In the multitude of my thoughts within me, your comforts delight my soul. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with you, which frames mischief by a law? They gather themselves against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. But Jehovah is my defense, and my God is the rock of my refuge. And he will bring on them their own iniquity, and he will cut them off in their evil. Jehovah our God shall cut them off. I'll be glad to read more, but does anyone want to discuss that?
You want to read the next one then, Glenn? Nobody
Sure.
got their hands up.
So what was the next one? The right in line?
95.
95, okay. All right. 95. Oh, come, let us sing to Jehovah. Let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Let us come before his presence with thanksgiving and make a joyful noise in him with psalms. For Jehovah is a great God and a great king above all gods. In his hand are the deep places of the earth. The strength of the hills is also his. The sea is his, and he made it, and his hands formed the dry land. Oh, come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before Jehovah our Maker. For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture and the sheep of his hand. Today, if you will hear his voice, harden not your heart as in the day of strife, as in the day of testing in the wilderness, when your fathers tested me and saw my work. For 40 years I was grieved with this generation and said, it is a people who go astray in their hearts, and they have not known my ways, to whom I swore in my wrath that they should not enter into my rest. That's a good one to discuss.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Not enter my rest. What's that? That's almost
Yeah.
the seventh millennium coming up here.
A lot of
So-
people don't realize that.
Yeah. But look at all y'all. Look at all y'all. You got a computer. We got internet. We got telephones. We got cars. We got new cars. We're fat. Look at y'all. We have abundance of food. We got roofs over our heads. If you are sitting here just listening to me on a computer, you're considered amongst the 5% of the world population that is well off. If you've got more than that, you're even higher up. What did we start off this session with? The blessing of Ephraim and Manasseh. The blessing, that little blessing is the greatest gift passed down from Abraham through Isaac to Jacob to Manasseh and Ephraim to us. Jehovah has blessed us beyond any other people on this earth. Just look around you. The infrastructure that we have, the bridges, the roads, the government, even if you disagree with the government we got, the government that we've got over the last 150, 200 years has provided all these things. Do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion, as in the day of trial in the wilderness, when your fathers tested me and tried me, though they saw my work. For 40 years I was grieved with that generation and said, it is the people who go astray in their own hearts. We've just let all this crap that keeps coming out of California just keep on growing. And now California burning. Justice is due. Well, no, but California may, but the rest of us are going to burn too. We don't appreciate what God has done for us. We don't count our blessings. Count your blessings every night. What's that? Is that a poem or is that a psalm? Count your blessings every night. We don't do that. What we do is we count our complaints, our list of grievances, our, I don't got this, I don't got that. God, can I have this? Can I have that? You know, like God's our Santa Claus. Are we going to be thankful for Jehovah for our breath today? Or are we going to be amongst those people that aren't going to enter into his rest? That's just 24 years from now. The seventh millennium of rest that King David wrote about back in 1000 BC, 3,000 years ago. We're at that door. We're right on the doorstep. We could not enter. Glenn, you got more you wanted to say on this?
Well, reading both of those, gives us hope. It shows us, and he says it. Basically, if we're obedient, we are protected. It says it in the last one we just read, the Psalms. Mm-hmm. And nothing will hurt us if we walk steadfastly in his ways. Maybe we'll be watching the suffering and we'll partake in some of the suffering, but I don't believe we're going to have the whole brunt of it upon ourselves if we are walking in his way. We're going to be like Daniel. We're going to look at Daniel. Daniel was in the exile, yet he was second or third in line. Just like Joseph was second in line to the kingdom of the Pharaoh. Daniel was one of the wise men. I mean, he had everything he possibly could want in that time if he needed something. So he wasn't suffering in that sense himself, although he was probably watching the suffering around him. I think we're going to end up in that same situation. And at that time is when we're going to be called to task to help some of these people see the truth and change their ways.
Again, it comes back to
Daniel,
that.
but Daniel was still thrown into the lion's den, though.
Yeah. Oh, well, he'll be tested. We'll be tested for sure. But if we stay strong and don't err like David did in counting, then hopefully we will be protected as Daniel was. In fact, I bet you I can just picture him patting the lions in the middle of that event because they didn't eat him. So I'd be glad to read some more if you want, Randy. All right, next one was
96. Yes, sir.
96. All right, give me a second. '86. All right. Oh, sing to Jehovah a new song. Sing to Jehovah all the earth. Sing to Jehovah, bless his name. Show forth his salvation from day to day. Declare his glory among the nations, his wonders among all the people. For Jehovah is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but Jehovah made the heavens. Honor and majesty are before him. Strength and beauty are in his sanctuary. Give to Jehovah, O families of the people. Give to Jehovah glory and strength. Give to Jehovah the glory due to his name. Bring an offering and come into his courts. O worship Jehovah in the beauty of holiness. Fear before him all the earth. Say among the nations, Jehovah reigns, and the world shall be established. It shall not be moved. He shall judge the peoples in uprightness. Let the heavens rejoice and let the earth be glad. Let the sea roar in the fullness of it. Let the field be joyful and all that is in it. Then shall all the trees of the forest rejoice. Let me reread that. Let the field be joyful and all that is in it. Then shall all the trees of the forest rejoice before Jehovah. For he comes to judge the earth. He shall judge the world with righteousness and the people with his truth. Any questions or anything? I think there's one more I'd be glad to read if no one else wants to.
I wanted just what you had to go over twice there. Then all the trees of the woods will rejoice before Jehovah.
Yes.
Are they rejoicing right now?
Not at all.
Burning up.
Small remnant.
What's that going to mean? Is that going to mean they're going to have abundance of rain, gentle rains, beautiful rains? The trees will rejoice. They're not rejoicing right now.
You know, speaking of the gentle rains, you know, I'm more attached to the weather than some because that's my job. I'm in the weather. And I think Becca mentioned this some time ago. She says, when there's a nice soothing rain, the earth is being replenished, is being nurtured. When you have heavy rains that go horizontal, or if the rain is so heavy that now the water runs horizontal and not down, he's cleansing the earth. He's washing it. Just like you'd wash a pan, you dump it in water and you wash the splat out of it. He's doing the same thing. And same thing with the winds and the tornadoes. He's washing the earth of what he deems evil. He's trying to cleanse it. But when it's a nice, soft, cool wind and it's a nice, gentle rain, he's providing. So I thought that was fitting.
Also in verse 5 of 96, it says, "For all the mighty ones of the people are matters of naught." To Jehovah.
All the mighty ones are what, Paul?
All the mighty ones are the people, of the people are matters of naught.
Matters of not. Okay.
But Jehovah made the heavens.
So instead of wishing for a new truck and thanking him for the new truck, which is good if you get it, you get up in the morning and you say, thank you for for another day to experience physical life. Regardless of what comes your way, it's an experience to learn from and to grow in his ways. So that's what you'd be thankful for. And you can ask because he says, pray continuously, tell him what you want, what you need, and he'll provide it. But it can't be, like you said, he can't be Santa. And it's better to praise him and thank him for what you do get, and he'll provide you with all of your needs and your wants if they don't go against his will. And many people live that way today that I have testimony from who are living in Torah. Myself included, trying anyways.
Most of the time, we just don't thank him for what we have.
Exactly.
Ungrateful. And what's the 2 Timothy saying? Ungrateful, selfish. We always say that's everyone else, but not us. It's us too.
And the little song that goes with that is, count your many blessings, name them one by one. Count your many blessings, see what God has done. And just keeps going on from that.
Yep.
And I think if you do that, and you do that from the heart, without any selfish wants or needs, he will provide those rewards, just like he did with Solomon in the beginning. When Solomon didn't ask for riches and he didn't ask for wealth, Solomon asked for wisdom to lead the people. And Jehovah said to him, well, I will give you that, and I will also give you the riches of the nation, etc., because you didn't ask for them.
How many of you ask for wisdom in your prayers every day? Yeah, I see a few nodding heads. Okay. In the Amidah, when I use it, you get through the part of thanking Jehovah, how great he is, and then the very first thing is thanking him for asking him for more knowledge and wisdom and understanding. And I do that all the time. I've been doing it for a long time.
There's a prayer even before that, though. You've got the morning blessing as soon as you wake up in the morning. It says, I gratefully thank you, O living and eternal King, for you have returned my soul within me with compassion. Abundant is your faithfulness. That's the Modeh Ani. The very next prayer after that is, the beginning of wisdom is the fear of Jehovah, good understanding to all his practitioners. His praise endures forever. Blessed is the name of his glorious kingdom for all eternity. I always pray them together every morning.
Yeah. So you've got a different sheet to follow than I do. Mine doesn't say that, but they're similar. If you haven't done it already, go and do a study on wisdom. Look up everywhere wisdom is mentioned in the Bible. Look up everywhere knowledge and understanding are mentioned in the Bible, and make that your study. Elaine, have you got your hand up, or are you just putting your hand up for asking for knowledge and wisdom? Okay. So, Glenn, are you doing Psalm 97?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Give me one more second here. Take a breath. 97. Psalm 97. Jehovah reigns. Let the earth rejoice. Let the multitude of islands be glad. Clouds and darkness are all around him. Righteousness and judgment are the foundation of his throne. A fire goes before him and burns up his enemies round about. His lightnings lit up the world. The earth saw and trembled. The hills melted like wax at the presence of Jehovah, at the presence of Jehovah of the whole earth. The heavens declare his righteousness, and all the people see his glory. All those who serve graven image are ashamed. Those who boast themselves in idols, all gods bow down before him. Zion heard and was glad, and the daughters of Judah rejoiced because of your judgments, O Jehovah. For you, Jehovah, are high above all the earth. You are lifted on high, far above all gods. You who love Jehovah hate evil. He keeps the souls of his saints. He delivers them out of the hand of the wicked. Light is sown for the righteous, and gladness for the upright in heart. Rejoice in Jehovah, righteous ones, and give thanks at the memory of his holiness.
Anyone got any comments? Okay, are we supposed to do 98?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
One more.
Okay.
Okay, if you want, I'll do that one too, or if someone else wants to, I don't mind.
Up to you, brother. Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Glenn.
All right, I'll do that. And that was 98, right?
So just while Glenn's finding it there, I just want to point out, these Psalms are often used as prayers. These Psalms are often used as prayers. And I remember Glenn asking about praying a number of weeks ago.
Yes.
So I think this is very appropriate today. So awesome.
Do you hear me?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Psalm 98, a psalm. Oh, sing to Jehovah a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have saved for him. Jehovah has made known his salvation. His righteousness he has unveiled to the eyes of the nations. He has remembered his mercy and his truth toward the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of Jehovah. Make a joyful noise to Jehovah. All the earth break out and rejoice and sing praise. Sing to Jehovah with the harp and the voice of a psalm, with trumpets and a sound of a horn makes a joyful noise before Jehovah, the King. Let the sea roar and the fullness of it, the world and those who live in it. Let the floods clap their hands. Let the hills be joyful together before Jehovah. For he comes to judge the earth. With righteousness he shall judge the world and the peoples in uprightness. Beautiful. Now, King David wrote these particular ones. Am I correct? I think that's what it said in the beginning.
Yeah. So I got a little note here on verse 2. It says Isaiah 52:10. So I go to Isaiah 52:10, and it says, the Lord has made bare his holy arm. Okay. In the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our Lord. Now, Randy, can you just go and do me a favor real quick? What is the word salvation there in Isaiah 52 and again back in Psalm 98? Can you look that up real quick?
Did you say Isaiah 52 or 62?
Isaiah 52:10. What is the Hebrew word there?
Yeshua.
Jehovah.
It says et.
Make it a little bit bigger, Randy. I can't see that. More yet. I'm getting blind, sir. 52:10.
That's all I got, brother. Sorry.
Okay.
In my Hebrew Bible, I have Et Yeshuat Eloheinu.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah.
Yeshua.
Yeshuat Eloheinu.
Et Yeshua Yehovah.
Eloheinu.
Eloheinu or Yehovah?
No, it says Eloheinu.
Randy, go to your right. What's the word there for et? Yeah, okay.
Okay, what's the next word after Yeshua? That says Yehovah. That says Yeshua. Okay. And
There's Jehovah.
There's Jehovah in the top line.
oh,
Okay. Okay, go back to Psalm 98.
Which verse?
2.
Jehovah.
Now move your mouse away. You're messing me up there. I can't read it with your mouse over top of the things.
this one says Hodua Yehovah Yeshuati. Yeshuato.
Jehovah is made known as Yeshua.
My version says victory. Doesn't say salvation, it says victory for that word Yeshuati or Yeshuat.
Okay.
Salvation, save, saving, welfare.
The other thing I wanted to point out that Glenn was reading while I was trying to look some of this up. And, you know, we are on a 3.5-year Torah reading schedule, which means we read the entire Torah once every 3.5 years. And we throw in the prophets and we throw in the gospels in there as well. And, or the book of wisdom, which is what we're doing with the Psalms. And here we are reading this, and we are just 3 days away from the Feast of Trumpets. And we're told here in verse 5, sing to the Lord with a harp, with this harp, the sound of a psalm, with trumpets and the sound of a horn. With shout joyfully before the Lord. Now we're told not to come to this feast. Oh, woe is me. We are to be happy. We are to be joyful. For the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, we are to mourn. The Feast of Sukkot, we are to be joyful. We are commanded to be joyful. For the 8th day Shemini Atzeret, we are commanded to be joyful. Okay? And we're being told that here again. Let the rivers, the oceans, everyone clap your hands and be joyful. So I didn't pick out this verse to read here at this time, but I think it's just perfect timing. Once again, whose clock are we on? I have no idea. Okay, so now we got to go and read Luke, and I don't have what are we reading Luke there?
Luke 11.
Just 11?
Is that right, Sombra?
Yep.
Thank you. And my bad, folks, for not fixing that before I put it in there. I'll fix it after. Who's reading Luke 11?
I am. And it came to be while he was praying in a certain place, as he ceased, one of his taught ones said to him, Master, teach us to pray, as John also taught his taught ones. And he said to them, when you pray, say, Our Father in the heavens, let your name be set apart. Let your reign come. Let your desire be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us day by day our daily bread. And forgive us our sins, for we also forgive everyone who is indebted to us. And do not lead us into trial, but rescue us from the wicked one. And he said to them, which of you shall have a friend and go to him at midnight?
Oh, hang on,
And
before you
preach-
go on there, Jenny, I got to interrupt you. This here prayer, Our Father, we used to say that over and over and over in the Catholic Church. Our Father art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Go and do that, and then do the rosary, and then we never thought about what this prayer says. So I do not want to read this prayer without understanding what you're being told here. Now, I've asked Sombra to do the prayers before service every week. And, when we were talking about it, I didn't know that was her thing, the thing that she wanted to do. And it's been perfect because she's doing a little bit in Hebrew, but what she's doing is exactly what we're doing here. If you pay attention to the order that Sombra presents the prayer, Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. In the Amidah, it's the same thing. The first, 5 sections are praising Jehovah and his name for what he is and what he does. Now that's a Jewish prayer. It's a Jewish prayer. Where do you think Jesus, the Jew, is getting this prayer from? He's summarizing it here in Luke. Yeah, Jesus was Jewish.
He
So he
got
does
it from Pope Gregory, I'm sure.
He's summarizing the Amidah. Your kingdom come. Again. Your will be done. Again. Who are we talking about here? My Christmas list. No, your Christmas list doesn't even get mentioned here yet. On earth as it is in heaven. Verse 3. Give us this day our daily bread. So when do we start asking Jehovah for stuff in the Amidah? It's just before you ask for healing. You ask for, may I have this year, a good year this year like I did last year. And then heal us of our sins, heal us of our sicknesses. Right? Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our sins. And that's all in the middle or the 2/3 end of the Amidah. So we got no problem saying the Our Father prayer. But we got a problem saying some Jewish prayers called the Amidah. And I'm trying to point out to you, week after week, when Sombra's doing it, this is why we're doing it, because Yeshua said, teach us to pray. Or not, Yeshua said the apostles wanted to learn how to pray. So he's now telling them, here's how you pray. Who put the Amidah together? The sages back in 455. 50 Jubilee cycles ago. The 50, I think I got that right. It's very, very, you can do a study on this, study the Amidah and the Our Father prayer together side by side. Nehemiah's book, A Prayer to Our Father. He's just looking at this, very eye-opening. Kurt.
Okay, I got a question here. Where's the postage stamp? Where are we supposed to send this prayer? It doesn't say at the end where to send it to. It
The
just says,
address is in the first word, dear. You don't
Our
put an
Father.
address at the end. It says Our
Well,
Father.
that's what I'm getting at. I'm kind of,
You lost me at stamp. I said, what's he talking about, a stamp?
well, the postage stamp, if you don't say in the name of Jesus Christ, it doesn't go anywhere. It hits the ceiling and, right? Isn't that how it works?
Is that what you're saying?
But
So
it doesn't.
so hang on. So what you're saying, Kurt, or you're trying to stir the pot up here, and the stamp is in Jesus' holy and righteous, glorious name, or in Yeshua's holy and righteous glorious name. Is that what you're trying to get to? Which, or is it in Allah's glorious name? What, is that what you're getting at?
That's what I'm getting at. He didn't say address it to me, or it doesn't go anywhere. He didn't say in my name. This is supposedly Yeshua speaking here, right?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't say ask in my name. He didn't say that. He did say address it to our Father, Jehovah.
And I'm giving you a hard time because you're right.
That's okay. I'm trying. I guess I was taking some of your
I was just
thunder.
pulling your chain back, that's all.
No, it's an important consideration, really. He didn't say it in my name. He said glorify the Father's name.
He always pointed to the Father. He never took the glory on himself. Never. He considered himself a man before all the people he was addressing, acted as a man that spoke with the authority of Jehovah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to point to.
Yeah. Okay. Good point, Kurt. Thank you. Jenny, do you want to carry on with verse 5? And I'll see how
Okay.
far we get before I interrupt you again. I'll try not to.
Verse 5. And he said to them, which of you shall have a friend and go to him at midnight and say to him, friend, lend me 3 loaves, since a friend of mine has come to me on his journey, and I do not have food to set before him. Then the one inside answering says, do not trouble me. The door is already locked, and my children with me are in bed. I am unable to get up and give it to you. I say to you, if he does not get up and give to him because he is his friend, he shall get up and give him as many as he needs because of his persistence. And I say to you, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened to you. For everyone asking receives, and he who is seeking finds, and to him who is knocking it shall be opened. And what father among you whose son asks for bread shall give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, shall give him a snake instead of a fish? Or if he asks for an egg, shall give him a scorpion? If you then, being wicked, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more shall your Father from heaven give the set-apart Spirit to those asking him? And he was casting out a demon, and it was dumb. And it came to be, when the demon had gone out, that the dumb spoke, and the crowds marveled. But some of them said, he casts out demons by Beelzebub, the ruler of the demons. And others, trying him, were seeking from him a sign from heaven. And he, knowing their thoughts, said to them, every reign divided against itself is laid waste, and a house divided against a house falls. So if Satan also is divided against himself, how shall his reign stand? Because you say, I cast out demons by Beelzebub. Now, if I cast out demons by Beelzebub, by whom do your sons cast them out? Because of this, they shall be your judges. But if I cast out demons by the finger of Elohim, then the reign of Elohim has come upon you. When a strong man, having been well armed, watches over his own court, his possessions are in peace. But when a stronger than he comes upon him and overcomes him, he takes from him all his armor in which he trusted and divides his booty. He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters. When the unclean spirit goes out of a man, he goes through dry places, seeking rest. And finding none, he says, I shall return to my house from which I came. And when he comes, he finds it swept and decorated. Then he goes and takes with him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter and dwell there. and the last state of that man becomes worse than the first. And it came to be that he was saying this, a certain woman from the crowd raised her voice and said to him, Blessed is the womb who bore you and the breast which you sucked. But he said, Blessed rather are those hearing the word of Elohim and watching over it. And while the crowds were thronging, he began to say, This generation is wicked. It seeks a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign of Jonah and the prophet. For as Jonah became a sign to the Ninevites, so also the Son of Adam shall be to this generation. The sovereignness of the south shall rise up in judgment with the men of this generation and shall condemn them. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and look, a greater than Solomon is here. The men of Nineveh shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and condemn it. For they repented at the preaching of Jonah, and look, a greater than Jonah is here. And no one, when he has lit a lamp, puts it under a hidden place or under a basket, but on a lampstand, for those who come in shall see the light. The lamp of the body is the eye. Therefore, when your eye is good, all your body also is enlightened. But when your eye is evil, your body also is darkened. See to it, therefore, that the light which is in you is not darkness. If then all your body is enlightened, having no part dark, all shall be enlightened, as when the bright shining of a lamp gives you light. And as he spoke, a certain Pharisee asked him to dine with him, so he went in and sat down to eat. And when the Pharisee saw it, he marveled that he did not first wash before dinner. And the master said to him, Now you Pharisees make the outside of the cup and the dish clean, but your inward part is filled with greed and wickedness. Mindless ones, did not he who made the outside make the inside also? But give in kindness of that which is within, and see, all are clean to you. But woe to you, Pharisees, because you tithe the mint and the rue and every plant, and pass by the right ruling and the love of Elohim. These you should have done without leaving the others undone. Woe to you, Pharisees, because you love the best seats in the congregations and the greetings in the marketplaces. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like the unseen tombs, and the men walking over them do not know. And one of those learned in the Torah answering said to him, Teacher, when you say this, you insult us too. And he said, Woe to you also, you learned in the Torah, because you load men with burdens hard to bear. And you yourselves do not touch the burdens with one of your fingers. Woe to you, because you build the tombs of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. So you bear witness that you approve of the works of your fathers, because they indeed killed them, and you build their tombs. And because of this, the wisdom of Elohim said, I shall send them prophets and emissaries, and some of them they shall kill and persecute. So that the blood of all the prophets, which was shed from the foundation of the world, shall be required of this generation. From the blood of Habel to the blood of Zechariah, who perished between the slaughter place and the dwelling place. Yes, I say to you, it shall be required of this generation. Woe to you, learned in the Torah, because you took away the key of knowledge. You did not enter in yourselves, and those who are entering in you hindered. And as he was saying this to them, the scribes and the Pharisees began to oppose him fiercely and to draw him out on many subjects, watching him and seeking to catch him in whatever he says, so as to accuse him.
Thank you, Jenny.
What
Sandra,
version was that, Jenny? What version of the Bible were you reading?
The scriptures.
Okay, thank you.
So the chapter opens up with prayer. How should we pray? And then right after this Lord's Prayer, it says, which of you who has a friend will go to him at midnight and say, friend, lend me 3 loaves. You're going to your friend because you have a trouble and a woe. That friend, a true friend, should take that trouble and that woe and turn it into prayer. We should never be talking. Look, there's a fly on my screen. We should never be talking to our friends without taking captive the story they're telling us and recognizing what needs to be prayed for. Everybody has needs, and every time we tell a story, we're telling what our struggles are. We're telling what our needs are. We're telling what the things that are plaguing us are. And if we're a good friend, we need to turn that to prayer. Whether we take it to prayer away from them, or whether we take it to prayer immediately with our friend who has the need. And as we kept on reading through this chapter, and we get to this part at the end where it's talking about the Pharisees just keep talking about, you know, you have to do. But you're missing the point about entering in. If you're not entering in, if you're not taking the relationship with the people who are your brethren and hearing what their heart's cry is and helping them come before the Lord and bearing one another's burdens, what good are you? You're just a Pharisee. We need to hear the heart of our friends and recognize where their pains and their wounds are. And sometimes that's because we see them in sin. And if you see somebody in sin, instead of just finger pointing at the sin and go, you're sinning, what you need to do is you need to recognize that sin and say, why are you sinning? What lie are you believing? Why aren't you believing the truth about you? The truth that God says about you? Let's purge that sin and let's get you back to the truth. Can you guys close the door, please? Let's get you back to the truth. And the truth is right there in, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come. I'm a kingdom dweller. I am made in the image of Jehovah. And if I'm not acting as a kingdom dweller, and you're not recognizing that in me, and you're not either bringing me to the throne on behalf of me or helping me to get to the throne, we're like whitewashed sepulchres. We're not helping each other at all. Sorry, I'm reading what Wilson said. I am greatly offended.
Okay, let me jump in on that, Sombra, because I was looking at the last part of this section here. Woe to you lawyers is what mine says, for you have taken away the key of knowledge. What have they done to take away the key of knowledge? You did not enter yourselves, and those who were entering you hindered.
They were the ones who were supposed to speak the word to the people, because remember, a scroll or a Bible in those days was $50,000 worth of sheepskin scrolls, and so they are the only ones that had access to that, and they had to convey the word properly. And so the people are listening for the right word, and they're getting rules and regulations that aren't even in Torah, beyond Torah. So now they lose knowledge because they don't know which one is right.
Let me just take what, I'm not disagreeing with you, Glenn, so let me take what you say. I want to take it, stop blaming the Pharisees here, okay? Because whenever you blame the Pharisees, you're blaming, the Jews, and we're not going to do the Jews thing. But what you just said, Glenn, was we couldn't afford a Bible, so we went to church, And the priest or the pastor or the chaplain, he just told us what the Bible said.
The priest told you it's a sin to use birth control.
He never told me that, but okay.
No, but that's the point, right?
Not a
Like-
priest. My priest said, I won't tell you what he said. Anyway,
But
what I'm
he should
saying
be
is-
saying is the sanctity of the sexual relationship should be within the marriage bed.
well, let's not, hang on, let's not get this off on some other subject here because you're going to get me all confused.
They don't.
Because
You're easily
it's-
confused.
It's what it is, though, is what are we doing here?
We're trying to identify, we're reading what the word says, and we're trying to discuss what the word says and get to the meat of it, get to the root
As-
of it.
And I'm saying this, hesitantly, but Joe Dumond, as your leader, is he telling you what this says?
Sometimes.
And do you
Sometimes not.
just swallow whatever I say?
No, absolutely not. We tested.
Well, Glenn, no, you're supposed to swallow what I say because I'm Joe Dumond.
Okay,
Oh,
whatever you say.
yeah. But we don't, and Glenn doesn't. That's sometimes why, I just want to, no, but that's what this is for, so that you can ask your thoughts or your opinions, or voice your thoughts or your opinions, ask your questions, challenge those thoughts. Like if Glenn throws out something that, I don't know who, I can't remember who did the last time, but somebody says something that's really like stupid, we're going to challenge them and say, I don't think so. I don't know. Here's some scriptures like, okay, Randy, you just tried to say that Satan was the cause of David doing this. And I said, well, no, Jehovah said in chapter 24 that Jehovah's the one to do it. I challenge Randy on it, right? Who's doing what here? Who's in charge? Did we resolve that? Maybe not. But we had a discussion about it. That's the purpose. That's what a midrash is. It's iron sharpening iron. It's having a discussion. It's not following the lawyer. It's not following the Pharisee. It's letting the Pharisee teach, if that's what his job is, to teach, the Levite to teach, but not being brain dead.
But that's
Not just-
also the thing about having an authority over your head. If you're not supposed to have an authority over your head, you're supposed to have only Jehovah as your authority over your head.
But then you do have an authority over your head, and that's Jehovah. So
Well, that's what I'm talking about. When you put man in authority over your head, that man can lead you astray. Now, there are some good men, but there's also some bad men. But
Yeah.
you're still supposed to go to Jehovah. And I think that's the whole thing about David, is David took the authority of Satan to take the census instead of going to Jehovah. He should have gone directly to Jehovah to find out whether he should have taken a census or not.
agreed.
Hey, Joe.
that Wilson?
I
Yep,
can't
go
raise
ahead.
my hand right now. Actually, I have a perfect example that's happened to me just today on this, right?
Okay.
So tried to figure out this whole, the moon thing and the start of the month, and I've informed people and told them such and such. But guess what? Looks like I didn't get the full story, and it could be potentially a day earlier, so I'm wrong. And I've got people looking to me, and I've said this, and I've got some. I mean, it's all going to be fine, but I'm just saying people are not thrilled because their schedule's messed up and different stuff. I'm like, look, you guys need to verify this for yourself. I'm doing the best I can, and you're going to have to check it out and take the responsibility for yourself. And I really tried to get it right. It was genuine. I took it serious, but I misunderstood a couple things there. So,
And I posted today's Torah section, and I copy and pasted last week, but I never updated it. I got distracted, and I'm human,
yep,
and
exactly.
you're human.
Yeah.
And I thought we had a 30-day month this month. And now that I'm looking at it, I said, where did I get that from? I made a
Well,
mistake.
I looked at the calendar and I came up with the same thing, and I didn't remember you saying that, but yeah, here we are. So, and I'm really happy that I heard this today. I'm sure there's others that wish I wouldn't have heard it, but
Hey, you know what? The Feast of Trumpets, if it's a borderline decision, I was always, I was my boss for most of my life, so I never had that problem. I just told me I'm taking off. Oh, I don't have to take it off, take it off tomorrow. But in the last part of my life, I worked for other people. And it was, you put yourself under pressure to be at work every day. Oh, I got to get to work. I'm late. I got to race. I got to run this light to make it to work on time. Right? You do that. Why? So that the boss doesn't yell and you get docked, 5, 10, 15 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, you're late. Because you want the job, you need the job. But we don't put that same type of pressure on ourselves to be at Jehovah's feast. The appointments with the creator of the world, the creator of the universe, those Moedim, those appointments that he said, I will meet with you on those days. We don't put that same type of pressure on it. Oh, I missed it. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I was on the wrong calendar. Oh, has the sun set? Oh yeah, it did an hour ago. Okay. Oh, I guess I'll fold up my books here and I'll start heading home. How come we don't treat Jehovah like we do our jobs? Why are our jobs more important than Jehovah? Okay, that's pretty cocky for Joe to say that. He's sitting there in retirement now. Yeah, he can do that. Okay. It doesn't change the question.
well, and as a witness to you, I know from the stories you've conveyed, you have run into trouble on your job and different things and taken the fight. So I know you've stood up for this and dealt with this in your life. So it's not that you're just sitting here from someone that hasn't experienced this.
Yeah, thank you, Wilson, for that. That's a good segue into what I'm going to say now. When I first started keeping the feasts, I came in around Passover time. I started keeping the Sabbath, and it was kind of new. And then Passover came, and they wouldn't let me keep Passover because I wasn't baptized. Okay, I don't really mind not keeping Passover. I'm still trying to figure out how to keep the Sabbath and 7 days a week. And okay, I think I'm going to start keeping the Sabbath more religiously now. And so I go to work in the morning, get my crew lined up for the day, and you've heard the story, and they break something, shut down half of Trois Rivières for taking out the hydro. The Trans-Canada line, they would take it out the next week. And then the water line, a major water line, they put the torpedo through it and shut down a quarter of all the water for Trois Rivières. Where's Joe? He's in Montreal going to church on the Sabbath. They don't know he's going to church. They think he's having an affair. He's got some girlfriend down there. I don't care if they think I got a girlfriend. That's actually quite good. They'll be more accepting of me having a girlfriend in Montreal. And after the third time, my boss says, what in tarnations are you doing? So this is back in 1981, 82. I'm making $3,000 a week. 1981, 82. That's a lot of money today. That was a ton of money back then. I'm just 20 some odd years old. I am king of the world. And now I'm starting this Sabbath thing. So I told the boss, I'm keeping the Sabbath and going to church on Saturdays. He says, what? I said, I'm keeping the Sabbath and going to church on Saturday. He says, speak up, boy. I can't hear what you're saying. I stood up and said, Leo, I'm keeping the Sabbath and I'm going to church on Saturdays. The Bible says the Sabbath is Saturday, so I'm starting to do what the Bible says. I expected to be fired. And he just, the longest pause in the world. I remember this pause. It was like an eternity. And he's chewing on tobacco and he spits it out. I think he spit out twice, maybe even 3 times. That's how long this pause was. It was the longest, I like it. I could have watched the whole football game. It was so stinking long. I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for him to tear a strip out of me. 3 major disasters, 3 weeks in a row. And I had everything painted out, lined out. I showed my lead hands. I showed them where it all was. I showed them. There's no way they should have broke anything. And they did. Anyway, I expect to be fired. And he said, well, okay, I got no one to replace you. Go back to work, get your crew lined out, and we'll talk later. So he went to talk to the owner. That was Sunday night. Went to work Monday, Tuesday, a memo come out. We are no longer working 7 days a week. We are now going to work 5 days a week. Well, talk about everyone being upset and mad. I was the only one jumping for joy. Yeah, we're taking a cut in pay. I'm going from $3,000 a week to $2,200. Woohoo! You know, everyone else is making $300 a week. I'm making $2,300 a week, and I'm going to complain about that? No, sir. I still got a job. Unbelievable. That was the Sabbath. That later that year, you know, my 3rd week after keeping the Sabbath, they told me that there are holy days that we got to keep. What are holy days? I didn't know what the holy days were. What do you mean? I just got the Saturdays off. What do you mean there's other holy? When are they? Oh, they come any day during the week, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They can land on any day. I says, you got to be kidding. I can't do those. Where are those found in the Bible? Well, in Leviticus 23. Have you not? No, I haven't read Leviticus 23. So I read Leviticus 23 and I start to learn about the Sabbath, and then I start to learn about the holy days. I'd already learned about the Sabbath because that's why I spent the whole winter trying to prove wrong. Now we come up to the Feast of Trumpets. And I remember my very first Feast of Trumpets. It was at Mount Royal in Montreal. And I'd driven down early that morning. It's a 3-hour drive from Trois-Rivières. And Mount Royal was a beautiful, crisp fall morning. I was the first one there. I was standing outside City Hall. That's where we were going to meet that day. And the door was unlocked. I was standing there with my suit on. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful day. This is my first ever feast. And I took it off. Maybe that was a Friday or a Saturday, or maybe it was a Sunday. I don't know, because I didn't have trouble taking it off. I just did. And then we had to take off atonement. And I did that one, and that was a little bit more harder. Don't remember why, but it was. But then after that, we had to take off Sukkot. Well, that was what do you mean we got to take off 7 days? It only says the first day and the 8th day. What do you mean you guys, I'm going to get fired. Well, I didn't take it off that first year. I went back to work. And I worked on the high days at the same time. Because I just couldn't do this no more. This was just too much. I fought for the Sabbath. I got the Sabbath. A miracle happened on the Sabbath. Now it's the holy days during the week. Now it's not just the holy days during the week. It's a whole week off of work. They can't replace. Who are they going to replace me with? I'm indispensable. My job needs me. I'm the only one who can do my job.
Okay.
That's I'm saying that because we all think it. That's what
Exactly.
I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm indispensable. Not that I'm super good. It's just that they haven't got nobody to replace me. If they did, they would have replaced me already.
I've had a lot of employees feel that way.
Yeah.
A lot. And they're not here.
And I'm not there. And you put pressure on yourselves that you are more than what you are. You are just a number. And at the end of the day, you're just a number. I didn't keep that feast that year. I went back to work. I kept the Sabbath. I learned about Christmas. and they all came back telling me about their feasts, and I'm feeling kind of sheepish for not keeping it. I didn't know what I was missing. Then the next year, Passover came. Passover was really hard to keep. And then Shavuot, well, that's on Sunday. That's not too bad. I started to work again in Trois Rivières. They all knew that I was going to take the Saturdays off. And then they promote me, not just to foreman, they promote me to superintendent. I've now got all the crews for Trois Rivières and Quebec City to look after. And I'm doing this at the same time that I'm running my own 50-man crew. I had a 50-man crew. And they said, you need some pipeliners in here to do this work. So I hired my dad. I was so proud to have my dad working with me. I'm working with my dad. We're talking about the same problems. We're giving each other advice. He tells me, put your boot up his ass. He'll get going. I'm telling him just to fire that guy. He's not worth doing anything to. I'm loving working with my dad. So I booked off the feast. Leo let me book it off. He wasn't happy. So about a week before the feast, I slips out to my dad. We're talking with my dad. I tell my dad I'm going away for the feast. He says, you're what? You're taking time off work? What are you, stupid? This is your bread and butter. This is how you feed your family. You don't take time off work. You take time off in the wintertime when you're laid off. No, this is a religious holiday, Dad. This is why I got to do it. The next day, my dad quit. And he left. And the 4 other foremen that I had there were all buddies of my dad, and 3 of them quit. I got 100 men now with no leaders. 1 week before the feast, I started promoting all the lead hands, making them bosses. You got to understand how big the operation was. You got 100 men or 50-man crew. You start on the street. It's asphalt in the morning. We rip it up, dig our trench, go under all the utilities, backfill it. These are 4-lane highways that we're working on. You got to have traffic control the whole time. You backfill it, concrete, which is the concrete is underneath the asphalt, concrete it, and then you asphalt it. And that's all got to be done by 4:30 that day. There was no holes open at night. So we had this going like clockwork. And now I got 3 crews with no foreman. My crew has got some lead hands on it, and I'm about to leave. If you cheat and you cut corners with Jehovah, the next time the test gets harder. That's what I'm trying to say. The test gets harder. The pressure on me not to go to the feast that year, it was just in Niagara Falls, right? Okay, so that's like a 9-hour drive from Trois Rivières. But the pressure was enormous. I had a mortgage, 2 kids, I had car payments. I'm making lots of money, like lots and lots of money. Tons of money. But the pressure was enormous. And who put the pressure on me? I did. Because I thought I was indispensable. But I'm not. I'm just another number. Just another number. I took that feast off. I felt so guilty. I went to Niagara Falls. And it was about the 4th day before I started to relax and enjoy the feast. I was so wound up, so tense, so worried about my job.
Test.
The test. The Sabbath is a test, right? I don't know if we read that in Ezekiel today. The Sabbath is to test them, right? The manna was a test, to test them for the Sabbath. I came back from that feast totally down to earth, totally relaxed, get to work, had to get up to speed right away. We were working in Quebec City, and all the troubles I'd had going into the Quebec City, because they thought Joseph Dumond, he should be able to speak French. Him, But when they found out that I was an Englishman, they put the screws to me. Because they don't want Frenchmen to work in the province of Quebec. But when I went away, my crew started doing more footage per day than when I was there. Which meant that when I come back, I just sat in the truck and put my feet up and slept and pretended that I wasn't there and collected a paycheck from October till December. And I let my crew do everything and go to all the meetings because they were all French. And Jehovah blessed me by having more production than I did when I was before. And the year after that, the following feast, was also very hard to take off. My dad never talked to me for 3 years after that. And the next year was very hard to take off. We took it off. But from then on, almost all the feasts I've kept have been very easy to do. What does it say in the Ezekiel? I'll make your head like flint so you can face all those idiots that you're facing. I think Jehovah did that because I'm pretty hard-headed that way. I'm not afraid to take off the feast, come hell or high water now. And when I get all upset about the time, this, it's because I'm putting the pressure on me. I put myself in that position. I'm doing it to me and not realizing that I've got an appointment with Jehovah. I'm going to go talk with Jehovah. I'm going to go and sit and have a conversation with Jehovah when he said that he wanted to meet with me. And when I started to do that, things really started to happen. I stopped trying to convert my family. I stopped trying to bring other people into this understanding. I just stopped. And it took a while, but I started to enjoy these feasts. In 2005, I got tired of all the fighting going on. And I just started going to a place where I thought everyone's keeping the feast at the same time, Jerusalem. And I've been going to Jerusalem ever since, except for last year. But I pretty much always went to Jerusalem since 2005. 2013 went to Falls Creek Falls. Because everyone keeps the feast there and you're normal. You're amongst people that are all keeping the feast. Even if they're not keeping the feast, the Christians come there to celebrate in the party. They don't know what they're doing, but they're just there and you're normal. And it gets easier. So if you're struggling with the feast, you're putting pressure on yourself. If you are afraid to take the time off, you're going to lose your job. The times that I did lose my job, I came back and I had a better job or a more paying job. I look back at my life for the idiot that I was, to be able to do the things I did, to live in the place that I live, to travel as much as I've traveled, to go to Jerusalem 18 times when I figured I'd never get there once. I got to go see Noah's Ark. I got to do all these things because I obeyed Jehovah. Yeah, maybe he's using me for something else. Maybe. I got all these experiences behind me that I'm sharing with you guys. Not because I want to be your leader, not because I want to be in charge, although being a foreman all my life or superintendent, you get that mentality. And, sometimes I just tell you stuff instead of asking you. So I apologize, but it's who I am. But if I could do it all over again, I'd have kept that first feast. I'd have kept that first feast. And then
Joe?
hindsight saying, no, you wouldn't. And I said, probably not, because then I wouldn't learn how important not keeping it is, or how detrimental it is not to keep them. So yeah, Jehovah's done a work with me, and the pains that I'm dealing with now, they hurt. They hurt a lot. But it doesn't matter how painful your life situation is. You're commanded to come to these feasts and to be joyful. And I got a memory bank full of happy memories at all these different feasts that I've been to. All these different people that I've experienced, enjoyed. Some not so much, a lot, others much more so. Again, I'm rambling on here, but don't be afraid to take the time to keep the feast. Those people that are in front of you, that are teaching you, these lawyers, don't let them lead you astray because you're not doing your homework. Wilson is checking up on me because, you know, this date is not a 30-day month. And people are checking up on him. Well, okay, I thought you said it was a 30-day month. Well, I made a mistake. We're human. Prove everything for yourself, because I'm going to die one day. Then you got to teach, right? My pastors that taught me, they've died. Most of them have died. Now some of them are so old that they can't teach. Others have gone a different way. At some point, you're going to teach. Can you prove what you know? Okay? These midrashers are good. They challenge you, challenge your thoughts. You can ask questions. But can you prove what you know? Do you know beyond all doubt how to prove the lunar Sabbath to be the stupid, idiotic calendar that some people want to follow? And I say that because some people have come back to me and said, you know what? I'm so glad you said that, because now I see what you're saying. I was one of those ones being stupid. Yeah. So you got to be able to prove it. How can you prove the Hillel calendar to be wrong? Where do the postponement rules come from? Where do why do we have postponement rules and not postponement rules in Passover? What's the second postponement rule? What's the third postponement rule about? It's about the crescent moon. Why do they have postponement rules about the crescent moon? Because it's not supposed to be postponement rules. It's supposed to be about the crescent moon. And they were worried about the crescent moon. See, these are things that you should know, that you should be able to argue at the drop of a hat, anywhere, anytime, without going to your notes. The only way you're going to learn these things is by writing them out. And then, you know, Jehovah says your name's inscribed on his hand. Why do you inscribe it on? He's Jehovah. He doesn't need to inscribe your name on his hand. Yeah, but by doing that, it guarantees you to remember. So when you write out stuff, it helps you to remember things. And I've just gone on a half-hour rant here. I apologize.
Hey,
But-
Joe.
Wilson.
There's also, and I haven't been able to find it. Someone here will know, probably Randy, but the verse that says, when you go up 3 times a year, you're commanded that I will protect your home,
Property.
your property, and this and that things will basically go well for you.
It's
So
in
we have
Deuteronomy.
that too.
Yeah. I'm sorry, wasn't there?
No, that was it. It just made me think of when you're talking about going away and having troubles or different things that have gone on. But in the end, Yehovah looks out for us. And even the things that seem like you said, okay, you may have lost a job or this or that, but you ended up in a better situation. And what I loved about your story at the start is that by you standing up and doing what was right, all those men then had the opportunity to have Sabbath off, whether they liked it or not. You actually helped. Well, I mean it. You helped bring righteousness to a situation, even among unrighteous people, and that is Torah.
Yeah, I'd never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they all got the Sabbath off because of me.
Which is a blessing, whether you realize it or not. It's a blessing.
That's true. Anyone got any comments or questions that they'd like to ask? Or shall we forever hold your peace?
So Joe,
Yes, sir.
I do have, whether you want to do it after the recording's off, and maybe that's, I do have the pictures of that northern, the northern tombs and the map, which and there's some things that came to mind that make a lot more sense. But
Do you want to throw them on here now? Do you mind sharing them with everybody here on the recording as well?
no, that's fine. Just since it was mentioned before.
Yeah, well, it
Um,
was mentioned before, and they're going to be wondering about it. And if you want to show those pictures, they can look at them, and we can ponder what you say. Whether we believe it or not, that's another issue. But we can look at it.
Okay. So do you see this?
Rachel's tomb, Kubir bin Bini.
Okay. I put the link to a paper in the side. I don't know about this website. I just pulled up these pictures. There is there's 4 of these remaining, and you can see the gentleman standing here and the size of these. There's 4 remaining. The road took out the 5th one. And I remembered something else as I was reading the paper, going over the paper I sent you, and put the link in the side. One of the things it says, and it says it here really small, but it talks about, the verse talks about Rachel weeping. A voice is heard in Ramah, Rachel weeping for her children. Well, guess what's just over the hill right here? Ramah. Where Rachel's tomb is a long ways. Where Rachel's tomb in Bethlehem is, why would it say a voice is heard in Ramah? You know, there's questions, and there's a lot of verses that I think actually make this the correct location. There's another picture here. Are you seeing this map now?
Yeah.
Okay. So up here you have, it says Rachel's real tomb. Okay. So down here at the south, it says Rachel's tourist tomb at Bethlehem. And so that's the difference in location. And
So Wilson, why does it say that he buried her at Bethlehem?
well, that's when you go through all these verses, it's one of these things. It's just quite frankly, a misunderstanding. It says she died, and like we just read, it says he buried her on the way. It doesn't say he buried. Now there is another place that it does say that he buried her there, but yet it conflicts with this other verse, so that you got to start digging in. And then when you look at the prophecies on top of it, and where it says a voice is heard in Ramah, you're like, oh, that, which is modern day Ramallah, which you know.
Yeah. That voice is, and we've even done a teaching on that. See, when you said that, my brain went, he may be right. Because we did a teaching on that, and the voice of her crying, and now I gotta go look it up again.
Yeah, well, see, and I live just up behind here, so you could literally, from the fence of the settlement, you could look down on these. And so I have a lot of time to think about this and the lay of the, just, you know how it is when you're there, it's just different.
Yep.
And I'm actually, until I see otherwise, I'm convinced that this is actually where Rachel was buried. Now the question is, did they tear one of them out, and which tomb did they tear out with the road? So yeah.
Is that the new highway they just put in, right?
No, actually, a man, I was told the story, named Pincus, we say Phineas, they kept arguing about the highway. This was years ago, and the local guy I was working with told me about it. And this is now the main road, and he got tired of the arguing, and he just got he'd be like you, Joseph. He got his, big cat dirt mover, and he just cut a road in. He said, the heck with the government, and he cut a road in, and then eventually they paved it, and it's the highway. So, one man making a difference. But anyhow, I really encourage people to read that. And there's actually now, because this has been 10 years, 12 years since I've looked at this, and there's actually a number of other papers and articles now about this. So
Wilson,
yeah,
what is it that all the Jews have got the tomb of Rachel for in Bethlehem? What was that before?
Joe, I don't know. That's I've shared with you the
What you
part
know.
I know, and once I understood this and the biblical arguments, it wasn't as important to me what the other was, because as you know, in Israel, there's tourist places for everything that is not necessarily the place, because it works for various reasons. And so
Wilson, this is one place I've never been to. Until you brought
I
it up
guarantee
today,
you,
I
here's the
hadn't heard of
crazy
it.
thing is, guaranteed you've driven by it. If you went on the highway out of Jerusalem up to Shiloh, you've driven by it.
I came the back way to Shiloh, and I almost got into Ramallah. And a couple times I've driven towards Ramallah. I said, how did I miss the road to Tel Aviv again? And
Yeah,
I had to turn around, but I don't recall this area.
yeah. So
Okay.
and there's no markings. There's no, at least when I was there, but it's been 10 years ago. There was nothing there on the road pointing to anything. So unless you know what you're looking for when you drive by on the road, these look very big, but they're out in a field, and there's grass, and you notice them, but you actually, if you don't know what they are, and looking away, they're big square, you're thinking, oh, well, are they building something like modern? But when you
I've
realize
seen
they've been
ruins
here-
out there, and I've never,
Yeah.
that would look like a ruin. Is this in no man's land, or is this
Yep.
in,
Um,
it is?
It's technically, I guess, under Arab control. I forget the name of the little village. It's outside of the fence. It's closest to Adam, or I'm going to pull up this other map. Now, this isn't a good one, but and it's actually kind of covering a settlement called Adam, or Geva Binyamin. And that's what this is, outside of the fence that you can look down onto in the valley there. And it's literally, you come up over the hill, heading northeast, because the road takes a bend, and actually, is it northwest? Anyway, you come up, these are not probably 2 miles from the turnoff for Ramallah. So you have this valley, and then you go up over the top where these other valleys come together, and one of those that opens up into it to the north is Ramallah, or where Ramah was, where Samuel was born. So anyhow, that's it.
Very interesting. Thank you, Wilson.
Sure.
Anyone else got anything you want to say about today's Torah portion, or my long rant? Who's Randy? Is somebody doing closing prayer?
I haven't found anybody yet. We ready?
Yeah, I'll do it today. Can I do that?
Thank you, brother.
Our Father Jehovah, our powerful and great Creator, our King, our Savior, our Redeemer, our only one. We have been checking the land, Father, this year with the timing of your feasts. We've been doing it since the beginning, confirming that we are on the right schedule as we seek to be with you. The pomegranates are out now. The figs are out. These are fruits of the 7th month. The first fruits. So, Father, you've commanded us to keep these appointments, these Moedim, to be with you. And we thank you, Father, for calling us and showing us how to know when they are, to showing us about the barley, to showing us about the crescent moon to begin the month. You've taught us these things. So we ask your blessing, Father, not just upon us, but upon those who are yet to learn these things. Help us to put that seed in their ear so that they will learn these things, so that they will come to know them. Help us to say the words that you want said, so they'll come to understand your Torah, to meet you at the proper time. It is important. It's deadly important. So we thank you, Father, for today. We thank you for the Torah portions that we've done today. We thank you for the members that are here and the members that are listening online later on. We ask your blessing upon them all. Strengthen us, Father. Make our heads like flint, that we will, no matter what, that we will obey you. Help us to be strong in your word, and help us to lead others back to you. And we just ask this for the glory of your great name, Jehovah, in all that we do. Amen. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say Shabbat Shalom. We have in 3 days' time, the Feast of Trumpets starting, we believe, Monday night at sunset. We don't know for sure if it's going to be Monday night. We just don't know, because this is the feast of, they will not know the day or the hour. And this is why, because it's the first of the month. And the moon will be appearing with about a 15-minute window before it moves into the haze. And then once it moves into the haze, it's got another 40 minutes before it disappears at moonset. So we may not see the moon this Monday night. But that just means we get to keep the feast the next day. And if you're east of Jerusalem and you started early, then that's awesome. You got a rehearsal. You are more blessed. Count it that way. So we look forward to the feast days coming up. On the high days, we will be keeping the feast at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what did we say, 2 p.m. I said? 1 or 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the afternoon. On the Day of Atonement, we will be keeping the Day of Atonement at 1 p.m. One service on the Day of Atonement. And the Day of Atonement is not a day for joking around and having fun. It's a day of mourning. And I'm hoping to convey to you why that will be the case. We have a couple other people that are going to teach during this Sukkot, I believe. But if you would like to help teach during this time, do let us know. I will be teaching on the Day of Atonement for sure. The other ones I'm willing to share. So if you want, let us know and step up to the plate, and that'd be great. Other than that, if we can't see you here and you are keeping the feast someplace else, awesome. Jehovah be with you and bless your feast, and may he give you safe travels and bring you home safe. And we know, because it says in Deuteronomy, which Wilson brought up, he's going to protect your property while you're gone. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone.